late as I've ever been for a stream, unfortunately. So, hello everyone. I am joined here almost 2 hours late with One Hop. What the fuck is going on? Why are you getting no data? I'm streaming! Hello, can people hear me? am I alive? Yeah, switch to
Um,
this.
I've I've got your stream up on my other device, and it seems like you're streaming. So,
Okay,
although
stream is healthy, it says. Fucking big ass delay on it, it looks like. Okay, in any case, I'm apparently alive still. Yeah, no, I was like, fine, it's fine. I can stay up late because I can just set a fucking alarm on my phone. No worries. And I set many alarms on my phone. It's like, okay, I can definitely wake up. But it does this genius thing where it goes like, oh no, he's sleeping. Better not fucking, better not disturb him. You're
it's like the
so
most retarded thing ever. It's like, hey, this guy wants to wake up. Better not do that because he's asleep. It's like, well, yeah, no shit.
you know, so
That's
I get
what
like
I
this
wanted you
this
for.
this list of notifications saying your blank o'clock alarm was automatically silenced. Your blank o'clock alarm was automatically silenced over and over and over again. It's like, okay, well, don't do that. How about? I don't want you to automatically silence that alarm. Please stop doing that. This never used to happen on my old phone. I think just gonna have to when it's a really goddamn important alarm. Because now I'm constantly sleeping through alarms with this phone. I don't know what the fuck it is about it, but I don't trust it anymore. I'm gonna have to like use my old phone as basically just a fucking alarm clock, I guess, because I would never sleep through an alarm with that phone, never once. So yeah, that's why the stream is 2 hours late.
Yeah. um. Yeah. No, it's all good. As I said to you, it is. Well, it's 11:59 now, PM. So we're just about to click over to a new day here. But I don't. If, as I said to you, if I had work tomorrow, I would have said we'll put it off. But seeing as I can afford to sleep in tomorrow, I just figured why not? Let's just do it. And so yeah, so we're here regardless.
Yes, and let me respond to these super chats because people are obviously ribbing a bit in the super chats. Do that. Fan funding monitor. Heterodox agnostic says see Discord. I can't mention Andrew Wilson, Andrew, or even Drew in the fucking chat, bruv. Turn off the moderation unless you have a good reason not to. I'll consider it. I do have a good reason not to. But yes, I'll consider loosening it. There was a miscommunication, I believe, by Anonymous Mike YT. This is for $10. Thank you very much. And the previous one was for 50 Crooner. Thank you very much. There was a miscommunication, I believe. Instead of discussing the NAP, he decided to nap. Indeed. Nuclear Mayhem 9238 for 20 Crooner. God forbid the alarm wakes you up. Can't really, yeah. That's what I thought its purpose was, but I guess not. I need to switch over to some fucking dumb alarm clock, which won't like go, oh, gee, he's sleeping. Let's not disturb him too
I,
much.
I finally decided. I finally bothered to update. I got an iPhone. I finally decided to update it to the newest iOS, and they used to like. I cannot tell you the number of times I've been almost late for work because of that exact thing where the alarm just wouldn't wake you up. So I've had to rely on my cat to wake me up because I haven't fed him.
Yeah.
Um, but it seems like the newest iOS they've patched that somehow because it was legitimately like the stupidest thing ever. The idea that you'd like automatically like I don't quite know why you would do that. Like what even like the logic the I don't know. I honestly couldn't tell you. Like some tech bro in fucking Silicon Valley decided to be a brilliant idea to keep their users asleep even when they want to wake up. I don't know.
Yeah, it was fucking pissing me off. But anyway, let's get into the we should probably do you want to do But what do you want to do first?
Let's go into Greenwood. I think because he was specifically talking about you.
Hmm.
I think so. He's probably the one that's most salient to respond to. The other two, the Hanania one was just like a general his view on the current state of the liberty movement, and the Wilson thing was just I actually just thought it was like a good demonstration of how to respond to or how to deal with communists, I should say. And spoiler alert: the answer is to not treat them with much respect
Hmm.
um, when you're debating them.
Pay with Klarna
Oh my
everywhere.
god, I'm getting a
One
fucking
card,
Klarna
2 ways
ad.
to
What the
pay.
fuck is this?
Sign up now.
Oh, I know why it is. I'm not on fucking the browser version of Discord. Hold on. Let me.
Apparently, I'm hosting now.
Yeah, let me fuck off of this and go on to the browser version of Discord. Another goddamn delay, I guess. Because they're gonna have fucking Klarna ads in the middle of my goddamn video. Do these? Instead of zap clock, unfortunately, eventually I became immune to the strongest zaps and just that is unfortunate. God damn, I never used to sleep through alarms. It's something about this new phone. I don't understand what it's doing. I don't like it.
Yes.
Hello.
Hello. Watch together.
It's trouble relaunching. Oh, God.
Literally every single piece of technology on the face of the earth is conspiring against us, going to push forward. I did not stay up until the wee hours of the morning to not do this stream at this point.
I'm gonna become a fucking primitivist at this rate. It's the technology has failed me.
Maybe Greenwood had a point after all. Like,
Fuck is going on? Like every time I goddamn launch this thing, it's like the activity failed to launch. What the fuck? Error. We had a trouble starting up. Please relaunch the app. What? Can I join your one? No, I can't. Ah! Jesus! Christ. The fuck is that? Why? Um... What the fuck? Can you try, like, closing down that version? I think it's, like, just fucking bugged completely. Oh, and he's gone. Watch together?
I just left and rejoined the call. Maybe that'll fix it.
Maybe. Nope, what the actual fuck? Why? Why? I'm confused. Okay, I can, like, download it, I guess, and, share my screen. I think we've done that before. Christ almighty. Copy. Fucking. Like, what the, are you able to launch up this goddamn activity without it crashing?
Me.
On again. Okay, right, I'm just gonna fucking, um. Yeah,
The one positive of this is we're starting to get into a more suitable time for Americans
yeah.
because they'll be starting to wake up now. So maybe we might end up with more viewers. Who knows?
I just need to legally download these.
Yeah, legally.
Every single thing that could go wrong. Right, one of us gonna have like a fucking heart attack. It's just this is retarded.
I do like that we currently have, what do we have? 77 watchers just watching us fuck around with technology. I hope this is really entertaining for everyone. Just us crashing out about various pieces of modern technology.
This is a day where I guess the gods of technology have forsaken us. I'm gonna make a non-dog shit version of Discord that isn't trying to sell your information off to the pedo elites. Well, the issue is getting everyone to use it, which is a very expensive thing.
Mm.
The
Don't worry, guys. Odyssey and Rumble will take over the video sharing space any day now.
Alright, okay, I've downloaded that first video now. Let me go away with all these other tabs. Videos. Go.
Look, if Greenwood, I'm going to give him a piece of advice. If he ever does see this stream and he wants to do a response, he should maybe just show this part of the stream and say, "See, technology is bad." And honestly, that would be a fair enough rebuttal. I'm going to be totally honest with you. So, if you're seeing this, man, just yeah, that's my piece of advice.
He does have
to
a
you,
bit of a
honestly,
slam dunk against me here, unfortunately.
Yeah.
The whole point of this is I'm supposed to be defending capitalism, hating nature.
And modern technology.
Not ideal. Okay, let me.
So how am I going to be able to see this video? That's my question.
I can share a window with you. Hopefully you can. We'll have to see if you can hear it. So, share audio, share a tab instead. Well, what? Odd. Hey, we do this fucking before.
We've done it before, haven't we?
I believe so. Maybe because I wasn't using the goddamn browser. Maybe I need to go off the browser version of Discord now. Or, no, surely it wouldn't. It would be the same. Well, the fuck. Goddamn. I agree with Arthur Greenwood. I hate technology. Oh, beautiful! I can actually launch the watch together now. But I'm scared to pop it out. Oh, you what? I'll just not pop it out. Oop. Yeah. That is a hell of a soundbite from me. There we go. That works. I can watch my own stream if I was up. I think you know. Alright, okay. Are you in here? Are we all good to go?
Yeah, I think so. I think that's finally done it.
Okay, good. You can dynamically stream it using MPV, by the way. So that's something we'd have to set up. But anyway, we're here, we're queer, we're ready to go.
Environment is a bad thing. We should damage.
It's an all-time clip, by
make
the
it
way. This
better
one.
for humans.
I think this
We
might be
should
like
go
one
out
of the
there,
first edits made
you
of
know,
me.
tear down
I love
trees,
it.
put up shopping malls, do all this sorts of stuff.
Yeah,
think
I was
that's
going to say on that,
because the environment fundamentally.
introducing your video by posting an edit that the person you're critiquing has actively supported, probably unwise. That would just be my first comment on the overall video.
You know, it reminds me of my my pinned tweet, which is This scene from The Simpsons where Martin Prince is going up against Bart, and he puts up this poster, "A vote for Bart is a vote for anarchy," and then it pans over and you see Bart is also putting up a poster which says, "A vote for Bart is a vote for anarchy." And basically saying like this should be our strategy. We should be, engaged in radical tactics which are, kind of getting our opponents. Because what he's doing here is, he thinks this makes me look bad. He thinks people will look at this and go, "Oh, this guy sucks. This is terrible." He's confidently saying this stuff. That's fine. I don't want those people, right? But it's also propaganda for me. Anybody in his audience who is worthwhile, they're going to want to now look at what I have to say. This is good for me. The more and more I do this, it's just free advertising for me. I can get my enemies to do my own propagandizing. It is very, very powerful of a strategy. And you can see this is literally a textbook version of it. This is literally a piece of propaganda somebody made about me. And he's including it as the very first thing you see in the video. Like, clearly I'm onto something with this Bart Simpson strategy.
Means
Even the thumbnail itself and everything about the video, other than like the big subhuman thing on the thumbnail. Apart from that, like it's almost a thumbnail that I would that I could see you commissioning someone to do for you. You know what I mean? Like, and anarcho-capitalists hate nature. Like, yeah, fucking based. And then like it's a pic of you with a burning forest. Like it looks like badass as fuck. So yeah, the whole vibe of the video from the outset, like I'm not really opposed to the whole framing that Arthur's giving us at the moment.
Yeah, it's like I don't know that I would title my video on this much differently if I were to make a video on anarcho-capitalist hate nature. I think it's a good title, and I completely agree. So I mean, in some sense, I agree with his thesis statement here. So we're not going to necessarily argue against that. I agree. Anarcho-capitalists do indeed hate nature, and I suppose the only real disagreement is over whether we're correct to. But it's good to see that he's doing propaganda for us. Let's see. For $5 from Ariel Suarez, and the previous one was 20 kroner, so apologies, I'm completely out of sorts today. I keep forgetting how to read properly. This guy is actually based. I fully resonate with that message. Me after discovering Look Zulu. Well, that's definitely good. And hopefully some people in Greenwood's audience are now feeling the same way.
Humans. When it's non-environmental, that's when it's been improved by humans. And if a human comes along and says, "You know what, I think there should be a big pile of trash on that glacier there, and nobody's got there first," and he goes to all the trouble of getting a big pile of trash on that glacier, all the more power to him.
That was Liquid Zulu, one of the most popular anarcho-capitalists on YouTube. He wasn't
That's so nice of him to say. Thank you.
joking.
I know.
He wasn't being ironic.
Someone did say in the comments to balance out our audio. Apparently, the video's a little bit quiet compared to our audio. So
I boosted the desktop audio, so hopefully that should
okay.
Oh.
Yeah,
genuinely
cool.
believes that destroying the environment is good. Look at the examples he uses. Plowing down a pristine forest to build a shopping mall, making a giant pile of trash on top of an Arctic glacier. To someone like me, who grew up playing in the woods, who cares about the beauty of the wilderness.
I love playing in the woods. I love playing in the woods. It's like, okay, well, if you love playing in the woods, then maintain a forest. How about that?
That's going to be that's about to be a common theme of our response to this video. It's going to be, okay, if you care about it so much, then do something about it. Don't sit here and complain on YouTube.
Yeah, it's the point is that you aren't just owed nature. You aren't owed the untouched by man. You're not owed any of that. Somebody's going to come along and get there first. So if you really goddamn want to frolic around in the woods like a little goddamn fairy, then I don't know, fence some woods off. Start maintaining that woods. Then you can frolic around all the goddamn hell you want. But guess what? That's no longer natural. That is not nature. What is the very first paragraph I have in my anti-environment manifesto? Let's see. Anti-environment manifesto. Let's look at this. The very first thing, and by the way, this is also, I turned this into the video. It's staying for the fucking video. What is the environment? The face of a virgin mountain. That is the environment. That same mountain face torn apart and set into the shape of a wall, that is not the environment. What separates these two forms of stone is that in the case of our wall, the stone has been blasted apart, hewn into bricks, transported to the construction site, and affixed into its proper place, all by the conscious effort of man. In the case of our virgin mountainside, this has not occurred. This is the distinctive mark. If you want some particular forest, and you go out there, and you maintain it in the way that you like to frolic around in it, then it's no longer the environment. That's no longer natural. You have maintained it. Just as, I don't know if anybody here is a history buff, but as it turns out, Central Park wasn't just that way in the way back when, before humans came along. No, they created that. They made Central Park that way. That is a complete fabrication by man. You can do this type of thing. I'm perfectly fine with it. But, I've got a fucking bot.
And so think about what the most efficient forms of like environmental preservation look like. It's typically something like a botanical garden or a zoo or an aquarium, right? Which are pretty clearly man-made constructions that are specifically designed to cater to the needs of the specific animals. So, like, I think it's fair to say that if pandas were left to their own devices, they probably would have died out by now.
Yeah.
Because
or if we don't industrialize.
Insanity, the insane like specifics of like when they are willing to breed, the environment they need, the specific type of bamboo they need in order to survive. So if they were left to their own devices, they probably would have died out. But humans, because they think they look cute and cuddly, and we can make money from selling tickets for tourists to come and look at them, have specifically developed habitats for them that are way more ideal environments for them than what they would find out just merely in nature. So even ecological preservation, when done correctly, looks like man-made, I suppose, efficiency, or making it as ideal as possible through the power of man, rather than just leaving it up to its own devices.
Yeah, and ultimately, like, is it sad when some, animal goes extinct? I mean, maybe, that it'd be good if we had some of that animal around, perhaps. Maybe we can learn something from it, study it. Maybe it's cute. That's definitely also a bonus. People get pissed off about that sometimes. It's like, oh no, it's just as important if some fucking grub in a tree survives. It's like, okay, well maybe. But I don't really care about looking at it. But like, ultimately, the question is, do you care more about humans being an industrial society and being able to fucking go out into the stars, become a Kardashev Type 1 civilization? I think that's way more important than some fucking slime ball which hangs off a leaf and it's like, oh, it lives in one little region of Southeast Asia. I think humans going to fucking space is a lot more important than that. I like humans. He likes slime, I guess.
Materialistic, subhuman way of thinking. Of course, we all know that Liquid Zulu...
Again, subhuman. This is the term that he's used. No, this is the human-centric viewpoint. It's one or the other. Either you have the environment, or you have humans. You can't have both. This is the entire thesis here. So I want to see him show how you can somehow have humans survive in a way which is environmentally friendly. Because the very point of the environment, again, is that it's untouched by humans. What, the humans just return to the fucking dirt and act like animals, pretend to be animals, don't have any property? Like, this is what you'd have to do here to have environmentally conscious humans. And that fucking Ted Kaczynski recognized that. That's why he lived like a fucking pile of mud for the most part of his life. He had a terrible life. And honestly, I'm glad that he died.
has completely lost the plot.
So you'd allow the person you love the most to be tortured to death before you stole $1 so that you could be committed to your philosophical principles?
Again, Arthur Greenwood, I don't know if he's a Christian. I'm going to assume that he is. What if Jesus Christ, Jesus of Nazareth, came down from a fucking cloud and said, "Thou shalt not steal"? And then it's like, oh, well, I could steal that penny over there. I'll just go ahead and do that. It's like, okay, well, it's one thing to commit the crime, but to, like, deliberately go like, oh, I know, I'll just get forgiven later. Like, doesn't that seem like the most obvious fucking moral choice here? Like, how would you, Arthur Greenwood, respond to a goddamn reductio ad absurdum in debate? Would you say, no, I guess I can see. Like, what the hell's wrong with you? Ariel Suarez, 5471, it's estimated that 99% of species to have ever lived become extinct. Animal preservation is actually highly unnatural. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to get off topic too much, but it always really bothers me because he does start appealing to Christianity later in the video, so that's why I think you and I are assuming he's a Christian. It always really bothers me when Christians try to impugn us for having consistent principles, because, like, the foundational myth of Christianity is someone sacrificing their life for their principles. And even more antecedent than that, the original covenant between God and Abraham was a result of Abraham demonstrating his willingness to murder his own son on an altar as a sacrifice to God. And then God interceding, or an angel interceding at the last second and telling him not to. But he had every intention of killing Isaac because God told him to. So this idea that Christians are somehow immune from having to bite bullets on the basis of what their principles might encourage them to do is very silly. And it's something that I bring up constantly when goofy, in fact. Yeah. It's something that I bring up constantly when other Christians try and say that libertarianism is like a death cult or something. It's like, well, you guys literally worship someone who sacrificed themselves. Like,
Yeah.
remarkably silly.
Yeah, the Martians come along and they say you've got to take some other god before the Father and the Son and the Holy Spirit and whatnot. You gotta take us as God. It's like, okay, well, there's actually a biblical story about this. The golden calf, right? That's where it comes from. Nishak, fucking whatever his name is, and Abednego, right? They were like, no, we won't worship you. Because we worship God, and they fucking sent them into a goddamn furnace, and they came out and they weren't burned at all. And he saw 4 men in the furnace, right? Because there's also God there in it, right? This is, the Bible couldn't be any more heavy-handed with this stuff. Like, you don't violate your goddamn principles, right? And the principles are, of course, whatever fucking God says.
Principle of it always being wrong to steal $1.
Yes, I believe it would be immoral to steal a penny or rape a baby or any other aggression. I believe that would be immoral. Oh my god, this makes me look so bad. I can't believe that I said I think it would be immoral to rape a baby. Oh my god, this is terrible for me. Oh yes.
But unfortunately, he's not.
Zulu debunked.
Not alone. Last year, I attended a libertarian conference at the Mises Institute. Ron Paul was there, David Gordon was there, Lou Rockwell was there, and these libertarians would literally say things like,
Lou Rockwell's not looking
I
too
hate
good
nature,
these days.
I hate the environment. There was this one fat economist who literally looked like the Monopoly Man, and he would just make constant jokes about...
I think I know which Mises Institute economist he's referencing in that as well.
Is it Rittenauer, maybe?
I think so. I think that's the one. I think that's the guy he's referencing.
Yeah, because he does look a bit like the Monopoly Man. I love his look. He's got like this funny mustache. I can't goddamn find a picture of him.
He genuinely looks like the capitalist, like, pig archetype that you would see in like Soviet propaganda or something.
Oh my god, I gotta fucking find a picture of this guy. John Rittenauer. Yeah, yeah. I think this has to be the one. I think this is the one. Oh my god. He's catching strays, unfortunately. But oh my god, his look is something else. I fucking love this look.
It is
The
good.
fucking the curled up mustache and everything. I love this guy. But he does have a really good I can't remember what the lecture was for, but I remember the example of like I think it's like a capital allocation or some shit where he's like he brings up the example of a self-baking cake or something like a ready-to-go cake or something. He loves these fucking cakes. It's fucking he's got this whole like tirade in his lecture about a fucking cake where you just add the water and you mix it up and it's like this is way better than any other fucking cake. I love this guy. And the thing is, if he showed a picture of this guy, people would be like, "Oh my god, that guy looks fucking awesome." So he can't do that one.
Those dumb environmentalists who care about the beauty of nature and not just money. And sure,
So yeah, no, it definitely is this guy because this guy he doesn't care about the traditional way of making a fucking cake. He's like, that's awful. It takes so goddamn long. I hate it. I want the fucking self-making cake. I can get my cake quicker. The power of humanity. It's the power of man over nature. It's we don't want the natural way of cakes.
sure, it's a joke, it's ironic, but it's clearly that
No, we're not being ironic. We're not being ironic. We really do mean this thing. Okay? I need you to understand this, Arthur. We really do hate nature. We're not being ironic. We're not making a joke. This is what we truly believe. Okay? If you don't like it, then
as much cake as possible, as expeditiously as possible.
let us eat cake. Okay, Arthur, let us eat cake. That's what I say. If you don't like this, burn your fucking house down, smash your computer, and fuck off with the goddamn, moose in nature, wherever the fuck you live. He's got a moose on his shirt. I assume he lives next to a bunch of mises. I don't know how you pronounce that. The plural moose. But yeah, fuck off with them. And yeah, I don't want to see you anymore. Maybe I'll see a puff of smoke. You're doing some smoke signaling for responding to my next video, and I'm not going to pay attention to it, okay? If you love nature so much, why don't you gay marry it,
that meta irony where you say something.
By the way, the plural for moose is just moose, by the way.
Oh my god, that's I hate the animals like that. Need to come up with better animal names.
Genuinely believe under the guise of irony.
Let's kill all the fucking mooses because they don't obey plural rules. Let's kill them all, and I got a nice fucking trophy on my wall. That's what I want.
I encourage you to go to one of these libertarian conferences and do a physiognomy check on the average guy there. Fat, short, weirdos with neck.
Okay, let's obey this guy. I'm noticing fairly weak chin. Not a whole lot going on down there. Let's just be real, guys. Let's be real, guys.
Beards and triple chins.
This twink ass looking bro trying to do a physiognomy check, not going well for him, I gotta say.
He would fit in great at the DNC. Great. He would love it there. Actually, also in the bathrooms at the RNC. He wouldn't be out of place there either.
They're nerds. They're bugmen. They do
and small shoulders as well. Paul mentioned that in the chat. I was going to say not very broad shoulders on him either.
Yeah, I mean he's not looking like his Giga Chad rankings.
He's not exactly
are falling.
clavicular or the ASU frat bro.
Yeah, I mean if this guy was like fucking jacked to the nines, I might be able. Okay, well I gotta hand it to him there, but like I mean he's not in the sort of position where he can be really calling for physiognomy checks.
Side enough as kids. Murray Rothbard, the founder of anarcho-capitalism, was a short, fat economist who spent his entire life in a dark, cluttered apartment. In his
old age, I think you should call it with the anti-Semitic remarks.
Yeah, this is just that's what Jews look like. I don't know what to tell you.
Rothbard was so fat and lazy that the only walking he ever did was to the sandwich shop across the street.
That is very fun. That's a very. I know that you could hear that like from like fucking Walter Block or something, and you tell it in the funniest way. Like, oh my god, I love Murray Rothbard so much. He's such a genius, and like ultimately, like I don't want to fuck him. Obviously, I don't think he's hot, but I don't think that really matters a whole lot. Like, let's let's talk about the goddamn like church fathers. Like, do you want to fuck them? Are they sexy to you? Do they turn you on? Like, if you look at these goddamn like Catholic monks, they're not. They're most part. They're not lookers. They don't look good.
I mean, has this guy seen a picture of Thomas Aquinas? Like,
Yeah, Thomas Aquinas. He does not look like he's in the best shape in the world. He does not look like he's. I think he could probably work out, perhaps a little bit more. He could do with that. And like the thing is, these are also like gonna be flattering pictures of him because this isn't a photograph or anything. This is somebody painted this, and I mean, it's not the best look in the world.
yeah, he could do with a trip to Turkey as well to maybe fix up that hairline.
or get one of those wig or wear a hat at least. I don't want to look at it anymore. But yeah, I mean, physiognomy check. He's got this round ass goddamn face, balding, round ass body. I don't know, but does that mean anything? Not really, because it doesn't matter whether I want to fuck Thomas Aquinas. What matters is, do I agree with his goddamn arguments or whatever? This is ludicrous.
He absolutely refused to exercise. Some things never change, I guess. Murray Rothbard was just obviously not a normal, well-adjusted person. He never had kids. He didn't spend his days.
I mean, if you listen to any goddamn like lecture by Rothbard or anybody who's like around him, he clearly was very normal and well-adjusted. He had a goddamn Catholic wife, and he was funny. People liked being around him. Like, this is ludicrous.
Yeah, this idea that he's trying to paint that Rothbard was like some shut-in that just, spent his entire life just in his own little room, with smoke billowing out of it. So like that's just not the case at all. Like, he was a very popular individual within his, broader circle. Obviously had numerous coalitions with people along political lines. So clearly it was at least, capable of developing connections with people, even if it was for, transactional purposes. But, broadly speaking, if you're looking for, normal, well-adjusted people, typically you don't, like, philosophy isn't always the best place to go.
Yeah.
Like, there's a lot of fucked up people that like, have you ever heard of like Nietzsche? Like, he was a bit of an unusual character. Schopenhauer, like, bit of a unique fella. Even, outside of that field, like, some of the greatest minds in history, like uh, Isaac Newton wasn't exactly like a typical character.
Yeah, because you're looking on the edge of the bell curve.
Exactly, yeah. There's a lot of weird shit that goes on with these like 145, 150 plus IQ people. They tend to be, quite eccentric.
And like let's bring it back to the Christianity again. Saint Francis of Assisi, not a normal guy. This guy would like drink dishwater. He would like throw himself into piles of snow. Like, he was a very strange feller. But does that, dispute his argument? Not really. It's highlighting of just how fucking, because he was really committed to his asceticism. I believe this is the right guy, by the way. I might be getting my monks mixed up. There definitely is a monk like this. There were many monks like this because they were ascetics in the early days. So I mean, Arthur, if God came down to you, if Jesus Christ of Nazareth came down to you from a fucking cloud and said, you got to cut down that tree, would you be like, no, I like forests? Like, you're gonna get heaven or whatever. You're gonna fuck that up. He'll send you right down to hell. I don't think this is a good idea.
You'll notice over the course of this video that it's not really like a coherent argument that he's making. It's more just like a collection of assertions that are made one after the other with no like real coherent underlying premise or conclusion that is being pointed to. It's just a collection of assertions about things that he thinks make him look good. That's kind of what I took away from my first watch of it.
Which is great, because again, thank you, Martin Prince. Keep posting that a vote for Bart is a vote for anarchy. Keep doing this. I want every video from now on to include a section which just says my ideas. Yeah, keep going. Don't worry about it. I can even chip in. You know, I can write a little section for you, which is just me stating point by point some crazy things I believe in, and you can just read it out for all your audience, and we'll see how that goes.
He's taking walks in the forest or having picnics in the park. He never experienced what human life is really supposed to be like. We're supposed to be outside, in the forest, breathing fresh air, watching the sunset, swimming in the creek. Look, there are some libertarians who are good, great people. Some of my boys in the Patreon community call themselves libertarians, but they will be the first to tell you libertarianism has an ecological problem. Libertarians need to care more about nature.
Well, why? Now here's, by the way, Arthur, I'm going to help you structure videos when you're doing some sort of an argument in a video. When you say libertarians have an ecological problem, libertarians need to care more about nature. Okay, this is when you launch into your argument for why that's the case. So this is what I want to see right now. Pardon me. Is hopefully I'm going to press play on this video, and he's going to give me, premise by premise argument on why libertarians need. He's painted the picture. You've done the painting of the picture. Okay, great. But now tell me the argument. I'd love to see that. I'm assuming that when I press play, I'm going to get a fucking argument for why that's the case. Ideally it would have come earlier. But I really believe in you here, Arthur. I think I'm going to get an argument now. Let's just do a quick check on that.
Just listen to MRH Legacy.
Oh, just listen to MRH Legacy. Okay, well, that's... Maybe MRH Legacy. Maybe he gave the argument.
Another big ANCAP YouTuber talking about the environment.
The environmental...
Oh, no, so it's... Okay.
Who advocate for reducing fossil fuel consumption or reducing consumption of rare resources are advocating for the destitution, if not extinction, of the human race. If someone owns a lake, say, and they proceed to throw plastic into this lake and it kills all the fish, I don't care.
Well, I do.
Based MRH Legacy. Based. And he's just saying, well, I do care. Well, I do care. It's like, okay, well, why do you care? Give the argument, please. Okay, maybe now he's done even more painting of the picture. Maybe now he's gonna debunk MRH Legacy's statement on why we should stop using fossil fuels. We should have humans living in the dirt. And by the way, I didn't even know that fucking MRH Legacy said that. But it goes to show, we libertarians, we really do believe this thing. We're not being ironic, it's not just a joke. Okay, we really do believe this thing.
Other libertarians...
I'm going to tap into something that, like an old economist joke here. It's like, if you really cared about that stuff so much, then you would have done something about it. Okay, you would have homesteaded that lake first, or you would have bought the fucking plastic off of him and said, hey, how much money can I give you for you to not throw this plastic in the lake and give it to me instead? Okay, if it really mattered to you, then you'd be willing to take on some cost in order to prevent it from happening. Yeah. But clearly, you don't care about it that much. Otherwise, you'd be doing something about it.
Yeah, I think it's Lou Rockwell, where he like doesn't recycle on principle, because he's like, well, if it really matters to people for me to separate out my recycling and my garbage, well, then somebody's going to pay me for it. I'm not going to do it because nobody's paying me to do it. Like, well, yeah, indeed. Like, if you really do give a shit about this, here's what you could do, Arthur. There's a lot of really cheap land out there in like the fucking sticks. You could buy up some of that land and not develop it at all if you want. You just fence it off and not develop it, not receive any rewards from it. You can do this. It can be like a fucking charity project for you. Just keep buying up random plots of land and not developing them at all. Yeah, you can do that, and I'm fine with you doing that, okay?
This fan wrote an article called "Nature Isn't Sacred and We Should Replace It," arguing that we should destroy the forests and the oceans, turn the...
And I do want to comment here. Sacred is a very important word there. I believe, I might be wrong here, but I believe the etymology is that to make something sacred is to sacrifice. It is to make, it has the same root meaning there. So indeed, you should not sacrifice for nature. I do not believe in that understanding of the sacred. I believe that there can be a legitimate concept underlying it, but it is this package deal they've got, that for something to be truly sacred, you must sacrifice for it. Right? That's the package deal. Which I reject that package deal. I think there can be sacred, and it's a joy. It's a beauty to, engage with the sacred. It's not a sacrifice at all. But for these people, sorry. Again, this is back to Francis of Assisi. They believe you have to give up the earthly pleasures, the disgusting earthly pleasures. This goes way back to Plato. We thought this was the fake world we're in. This is impure. This is not the perfect world. So you really shouldn't be, engaging in the bounties of this world. Well, that's wrong. It's all wrong. I want to see arguments for why this is actually the case. Why we need to sacrifice. Why do we need to sacrifice here, Arthur?
The earth into a barren wasteland and live inside.
No, not barren wasteland. No. Yeah, because this thing these people can't really understand. Even though, again, it's the first fucking paragraph of my essay on this, they don't understand that if humans are maintaining some environment, it's no longer natural. Okay, this is Lindy Beige has this video where he goes over. There's like some forest. He like it's called Pardon me, Jesus, my throat is killing me today. Yeah, he goes over in this video how pretty much every single forest you've ever seen is not natural. At least if you're in Europe. It's not natural. It's been maintained and changed by humans since the goddamn Bronze Age. Right? Humans have been fucking changing it. And this is a forest where they've deliberately left it like untouched for, hundreds of years. It's not the same as like if I just go to my nearest forest, it's not natural in the slightest. I've walked my dog through like nearby woods, not even close to being natural. Okay, that's being maintained by humans. What do you think the fucking forestry service does?
I've summited Mount Kosciuszko, which is the highest mountain in Australia. It's not particularly high by international standards, so it's not like a huge feat or whatever, but it's pretty cool. But like you go there, and obviously like this is pretty far out in the sticks. But there's a whole bunch of walking trails around it at the base and everything that you can go through, and then like you get to the summit, and like there's a whole bunch of like smallish boulders that are conveniently placed that are like a decent kind of shape and size to sit on and like watch the sunrise or sunset. I was like, geez, I wonder if like nature just like had all these like convenient chairs laid out for us, or if maybe that had something to do with human beings deciding that they wanted to sit and enjoy the sunrise or the sunset on Australia's highest peak.
Yeah, and you know who doesn't like nature? The people who actually come in contact with it. Like if Arthur, you have not come in contact with nature. I'm telling you that right now. Unless you fucking like hike through the Darien Gap or some shit, which I don't know about. Right? You have not come in contact with nature. The people who are like less developed, even in US history, they describe nature as like disgusting. Like it's awful. Because it's an actually scary thing to be in contact beyond the frontier. That is a dangerous activity. You've not come in contact with this. I saw this stream once by the Ayn Rand Institute where they were going over this topic, and the way they described it is sort of like it's like a horror movie. Like a horror movie can be fun to watch because you're not in actual real danger. You know what wouldn't be fucking fun is if you had a real axe murderer like fucking breaking down your door. Like that would not be fun at all. You would not enjoy that. Like because it's real.
Yeah.
And we did get a couple more super chats from
Metanali 4594 for $5. Thank you very much. Who says Zyle Zulu and Mile Mulu, presumably Mile Monhop as well. So thank you very much.
He's done it back to front. He said Zyle Zonhop and
Oh yeah.
Mile Mulu.
Oh, I see what he did.
Yeah.
I don't even read them properly, I guess. And then Nuclear Mayhem 9238 for 20 Crooner. Thank you very much. Altruism, whatever the kind is cringe and immoral indeed. It's a terrible thing. People just kind of they get these ideas and they don't even really understand where they come from. I don't think Arthur really understands where his ideas are coming from, because if he did, if he was an actual biblical scholar, then maybe he would understand why violating your principles is probably not a good idea. That's what 10 commandments. He didn't say 10 suggestions. The 10 commandments. These are commandments. You don't fuck around with this. And you know what one of them is?
The 10 general guidelines.
Yeah. The 10 rules of thumb. And one of those rules of thumb, I believe it says thou shalt not steal. Oh, maybe it's not thou shalt not steal. Maybe it's steal sometimes. It's okay. Don't worry about it. No, it says thou shalt not steal. Guess what? What if you had to steal a penny to stop the Martians? Well, what does let's ring up God. What does he have to say on that matter? He says, "Thou shalt not steal." Oh wow, God agrees with me, Arthur. God, the God of all creation, agrees with me on that topic.
A computer simulation. These people are literally Nietzsche's last man. These empty shells who live a mere bovine.
Again, Monhop, I believe you were suggesting something about this earlier. What can we do the life check on Nietzsche there? Did he live a normal life? Oh, he was a weirdo. Well, I mean, Arthur, you can't use that example then. So let's stop talking about Nietzsche's arguments. Let's get away from Nietzsche, because did you know he was weird? Whoa, crazy that if you go into the fucking very far right tail of the bell curve, turns out you get some weird sorts. Who could have predicted such a thing? This is crazy.
I know. Yeah. Honestly.
Pursuing material comfort and pleasure, not caring about higher ideals like beauty and grandeur.
Oh, let's talk about the highest ideal in your view, Arthur. What would that be? Christianity. What do the Christians say on this? Thou shalt not steal, Arthur. Thou shalt not steal. This is ludicrous.
They are the merchant class, the Shudras. No heroism, no spiritual values, just the unbridled pursuit of maximum wealth. Even Thomas Jefferson, who I think was overall a pretty cool guy, criticized the European aristocracy.
Apart from the whole slavery thing,
yeah,
he was a pretty cool guy. Apart from that,
preserving the old European forests. All that land could be turned into farms. We could produce so much cheap food.
Again. Old European forests, Arthur, you need to understand this. There is not a single natural forest in Europe. It's all been changed. I know people like this. I'm just going to pull up a photo of the Scottish Highlands. I know there's plenty of tourists to Scotland from America. And they love the Highlands. I even had some friends in uni who were tourists from the continent, and they were like, "Oh, let's go up into the Highlands. It's beautiful." Not a single fucking picture you're seeing here is natural. Not a single one. Okay, way back in the Bronze Age, these moors you see, they're not natural features. They were created by farmers. Way in the Bronze Age, they were being created by farmers. Because guess what? It's actually easier to herd sheep if you don't have all this shit in the way. Okay, so farmers created the moors. Do you like looking at this? Does this look beautiful to you? Well then, guess what? You hate nature.
I think people forget how long human beings have been around.
Yeah.
We've pretty much trekked across every single navigable portion of the earth that's above water. And any part that we haven't touched, it's because it's basically inhospitable. and pretty much incapable of being traversed by human beings. I mean, we've gotten to the point where we have sufficient technology to probably go there anyway. But yeah, you're not going to find this untouched virgin wilderness in the middle of Europe where, hundreds of millions, like billions upon billions, I should say, of people have lived over the course of thousands upon thousands of years. It's just not going to happen. You're just not going to find it.
Indeed, yeah.
Maybe if you go into the middle of fucking Siberia, you can find some untouched virgin wilderness.
Fuck
but then
off
that
to
would beg the
Greenland.
question, why the fuck would you want to go there?
Yeah.
Or actually, please do. Please go there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to see Arthur in his next video. He's recording it in the fucking middle of goddamn Antarctica. And maybe he can prove the fucking flat Earth theory or something. It's a good research project for you there, Arthur. You can make a good video if you're in the middle of fucking nowhere. And, I guess you can't bring Starlight with you, though, because that's like, it's ruining the night sky. It's light pollution. So you can't engage in that sort of technology. So I guess, I don't know, fucking ask a pigeon to tell someone to upload your video for you. I don't know what to do. Yeah, Huge Hat Harold also just gave $5 US. So thank you very much. No message attached.
Yeah, okay, look what happened. Most of Europe's old-growth forests are gone forever, species are going extinct left and right.
Again, Americans love coming to Europe to like walk in the woods and do all this shit. And indeed, there's no old growth in Europe. It's all being controlled by humans. Yeah, it's been like that for millennia at this point. It doesn't exist anymore. We don't have nature in Europe. Guess what? There used to be fucking bears and wolves in the UK, and we killed them all because we don't want that shit. Okay? Now the fucking goddamn Scottish government is trying to reintroduce the wolf to Scotland. Disgusting. Get rid of it. I don't want that. I want to be able to go out into the woods, as you say, and camp without having the fear that a fucking bear is going to rip me to death. Okay, I want to do that. It's not good for me if there's a fucking bear wandering around there. That's bad. Get rid of it. Kill it.
Yeah, bears are very cute and cuddly up until you accidentally get between like a mother and its cubs.
Yeah.
That typically doesn't go well for you. So
cities just keep growing and growing, and it's all because of this utilitarian mindset where beauty and...
Okay, what is the alternative? Cities keep growing and growing. What is your alternative here, Arthur? Do you want white people to stop having children? Do you want us to live in the fucking woods? Well, then we're going to fucking destroy your nature, so you don't want that. What is your alternative here? What do you think the United States of America is? What was the founding principle which allowed them to take over that entire continent there? What was that? It was manifest destiny. Guess what, buddy? That's no longer nature anymore. There was a frontier back in the olden days, right? Not any longer. You're not living in nature. It was Europeans who wanted to destroy nature who founded your fucking country. Okay? I don't want to hear this fucking lip from you any longer.
right, and it's a fascinating coincidence that these people that spent all this time destroying nature, ushered in the Industrial Revolution and all that. Like, I'm sure that just happened purely by coincidence that they were able to produce some of the highest living standards, well, the highest living standards that mankind has ever witnessed by a mile ever, and that had nothing to do with their willingness to manipulate natural resources to their own ends.
Yeah, it could have just as easily been the North Sentinelese, who live on North Sentinel Island and are one of the last uncontacted tribes. I think they're technically contacted, but completely like we have no communication with them. They could have just as easily developed the United States of America. It would have been just as easy for them. It was just random that it was the Europeans.
Yeah.
And
exactly. Pure coincidence.
Nuclear Mayhem 9238 for 20 crooner. Thank you very much. Ironically, there is more nature on the moon than here. Yeah, the moon. Go ahead, Arthur. Go move to the moon or something. But he'll have to fuck off pretty quickly if we start colonizing the moon. He's not going to like that.
Yeah.
Nature and spiritual values are...
And it's ironic, because again, the way he would get... I just want to harp on this a little bit. The way Arthur would get to true nature and survive for more than 2 seconds, is he would have to use all of this technology, which has been built up by people destroying nature. He would need to use the means which have been provided to him by the people destroying nature in order to go into nature. And guess what? If he wants to survive for any length of time, he's going to have to use more of those means, right? Like, if you want to go down to the bottom of the fucking Marianas Trench or whatever, you'll need a submarine. Right? Guess how they make submarines, Arthur? They don't grow on trees. I'll tell you that much.
Dismissed as superstitions. My grandmother used to say, you know, God could have made it all gray. God didn't have to create the beaches and the jungles and the sunny prairies.
Primacy of
He could have
Arthur
just
Greenwood's
created a
grandmother's
giant
consciousness
sterile
has
factory, like the
prevailed.
spaceships in Wall-E, making human life as comfortable as possible at every possible moment. But instead, he chose to create forests and oceans and animals.
I'm going to tell you this straight up, Arthur, again. Any of those forests you like to see in Europe, those Scottish moors, God didn't have a hand in that, okay? That was humans. That was humans made all of those. As guess what? Even back in the medieval period, it's actually pretty easy to figure out that if you want to use a bunch of wood for building various things, then you're going to have to replant those trees. So guess what? That's exactly what they fucking did. And like, there's even like these trees where you see like it has like, it's like a regular trunk and then it like splits off into a bunch of tiny little branches. And it looks very strange. Why does it look like that? Well, as it turns out, that's not just how the tree normally looks. That was created by medieval people because they wanted to make wattle and daub houses. So they needed a bunch of thin, basically like branches. So they created a type of tree, right? It's not natural. Like they cut it up in a certain way and it starts forming those thin little branches from a big thick trunk. That's not natural. Nature didn't have a hand in that. Okay? Humans, we did that.
Christianity, there are 3 sacred values: truth, goodness, and beauty.
But what if you had to violate one of those values in order to stop the Martians or whatever? I'm curious.
Modern world, a lot of people have lost.
Quick one. Sorry. Pyle is dropping gems in the comments section. I want to call out a couple of them. So the first thing you pointed out was that, like, have you ever noticed that the most enjoyable parts of being in like the more wild areas of the earth is the actual process of building shelters and finding food and building a camp and all that kind of stuff. Like the actual again, it's still the manipulation of the natural resources that makes that whole experience, an enjoyable and fruitful one. Is the satisfaction that you get from, going out into the wilderness and, having to fight, again, in scare quotes, fight for your own survival. And, when you achieve that, it feels good because you feel like you've accomplished something. So, well, that's how I kind of treat it anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So, people don't go out into nature and just sit there and do nothing and just watch the wilderness. Like, no, they do stuff. They, build a camp. They find, food or shelter and whatever else. And then the second thing that he said was he pointed out that there's a quote from Genesis, and it's gone up in the comments, so I can't see it now. But basically,
I've got it here.
God tells. God tells.
I can read it if you want.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, go ahead.
Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the earth and subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on the earth.
Yeah, so basically God was a based anti-environmentalist. He didn't want us to, according to the Bible, God didn't want us to just go out there and just leave nature as it was. He wanted us to, again, under the theistic worldview, he created the world for us to use. So he's just wrong theologically about what the actual entailment of God creating the earth is.
Yeah, so basically, the God of all of creation says Liquid Zulu's correct. The environment is bad. This is the God of all of creation, according to Arthur, who agrees with me yet again. Well, he keeps agreeing with me on all these things. It's weird.
Yeah, it's getting a little bit unnerving at this point. How much God is agreeing with us.
And for Zermostein, who gave 1067 somethings, thank you very much. If you want access to the Discord server, try like DMing me or like somebody who's like associated with me or in like one of my moderators or whatever. And then I can get
Me,
you
I'm a moderator.
Yeah, there you go. If you can get in touch with Monhop, that would be fine. Then yeah, I can give you.
I actually don't know how I ever got moderator privileges. To be honest with you, I think people would just say, he tends to be around a little bit. I guess he can be a moderator. Not sure how wise it was to give me any amount of power over an internet server, but anyway, hasn't blown up so far. So
Hopefully it keeps up that way.
Sight of beauty.
Yes.
The modernistic scientific perspective views nature as an object, a machine to be used and manipulated. Our ancestors saw nature as an organism.
No, again, no. Your ancestors, the reason why you exist, the reason why you live in a comfortable society, because your ancestors are the very opposite of what you're saying. They saw nature as something to conquer. What do you think a fucking frontier is, Arthur? A frontier is humans going out and trying to claw away at nature and conquer it. That's what a frontier is, Arthur. Okay? They didn't live in nature. I'll tell you that much. Right? They conquered nature. They destroyed nature. And it's beautiful that they did.
Sacred and living and growing and breathing. To quote C.S. Lewis, we do not look at trees either as dryads or as beautiful objects when we cut them into beams. The first man who did so must have felt the price keenly, and the bleeding trees in Virgil and Spenser may be far-off echoes of that primeval sense of impiety. In a very...
Okay, so should we not cut down any trees? Should we stop doing that? Should we have stopped doing that back in the fucking Bronze Age? Should we not have progressed any further? Like, what is your prescription here, Arthur? And what is your argument here, Arthur?
Just real quick, Zulu. Do you want to look behind Arthur for a second? Look at that shelf that he's got there. What do you reckon that's made of by the looks of it?
It must just grown
books,
that way.
Yeah. And all those, like, what appear to be books along the bookshelf. I wonder what, like, material was used to put all those pages together. I wonder where that came from. His the rebuttal to his argument is in the background of the video. Is basically what I'm getting at.
And even the fact that, like, what did C.S. Lewis write that on? I wonder. You know, if C.S. Lewis is to be your argument, what did he use? How did he do that without destroying any trees? It's weird.
Primal sense, cutting down a tree is an act of sacrilege. It's like dissecting a human body.
Cutting down a tree is an act of sacrilege. Well, guess what, Arthur? You gotta no longer engage in that any longer. Stop buying wooden products. Stop buying any paper. Stop doing it. Okay, because cutting down a tree is an act of sacrilege. You want to commit sacrilege? I wonder what God has to say about sacrilege, by the way. He's probably fine with it, right?
Sometimes it might be necessary for doctors to chop up cadavers, but it should never be taken lightly. We should understand that we're doing something unholy. When we see the...
Doing something unholy shouldn't be taken lightly. Okay, but like, what are the conditions under which you should do it? What are those conditions? Maybe so that humans can flourish? Okay, then we've got the same set of things that we believe in, Arthur. We've got the same set. If a sufficient condition is that it would make humans flourish, well, guess what, buddy? That's going to be a whole lot of destroying nature.
The wilderness as mere resources to be used, we have lost our humanity. I remember one...
Because again, he's saying if we see it just as a set of resources to use, then we've lost our humanity. It's unholy. Okay, then I'm confused about what the conditions are where it's fine for you to cut down a tree and it's no longer unholy. Like, what are those conditions where it becomes necessary? What are those conditions, Arthur? I need to know those conditions.
When you really, really, really need a bookshelf.
Yeah, when you just can't help but to buy a bunch of books.
Economics professor said that if you don't develop the land by building neighborhoods or shopping malls, it just sits there wasted. Now look, I'm not saying you should never develop land.
Oh, okay, so maybe now he's going to give us his conditions for when you should develop land. Let's hear it, Arthur.
We obviously
I'm grateful
need
that
homes.
he's not going to say no developing land. Like, what would no developed land imply? It would literally just mean like you have to you have to hover in the air somehow, like astral project until you die because you're not allowed to like cultivate any land to even exist on. Right. So I am very glad that you put the conditional that hey, you can develop some land. That's very generous of you, Arthur.
Homes and farms, but undeveloped land, untouched forests and rivers and wilderness is not wasted. It's beautiful and valuable in and of itself.
Valuable to whom, Arthur? In what way is it valuable? Because we can walk through it, because we can, sit in the trees. Again, not natural, not nature.
A lot more
Yeah,
valuable.
and if it was valuable, as we said earlier, then people would homestead it and cultivate it and maintain it. But they're not doing that. That implies it isn't valuable, or at least people don't value it to that end.
Than a shopping mall. Listen, I'm not some sort of communist. I generally like capitalism. In fact, I think capitalism is good for the environment. Take a look at this graph. The vertical axis shows environmental friendliness, the horizontal axis shows GDP per capita. As you can see, richer countries are better for the environment.
He didn't cut out the error in his video. That was pretty funny. It was like, wait, no, and then just didn't cut that out. Oh, that's really funny.
See that the top half.
But yeah, so I think we can actually keep rolling through this because what he's doing here is, well, clearly what he's trying to do is say, well, there's a correlation between, ecological health or environmentalism and productivity. And what he's trying to argue is that the causal relationship is in the direction of the more ecologically friendly you are, the more developed your country gets. So it's that leads to that. But then later on, you'll see he completely debunks his own argument and actually reverses it back to the actual order it will be. So like unless you want to say anything, like we can actually kind of roll through this and then you'll see what I mean when he gets into it.
Yeah, no, because I mean, like, yeah, you can maintain forests and shit if you're very highly developed. But again, that's maintaining the forest. Guess what that involves? What do you think the Forestry Service is using that money for?
This graph is wealthy European countries. The bottom half is poor African and Asian countries.
I thought you didn't like the European countries because we destroyed all the forests, so we don't have any old growth forests anymore. Weird.
And if you're wondering what that environmental protection score consists of, this graph breaks it down. Air pollution, carbon, deforestation, fisheries, biodiversity, everything was taken into account. Just two countries, China and India, create 1/3 of global emissions. America only creates 11%, which is not good. We should try to cut that down. We should do our part as much as possible, even if nobody else is doing theirs.
I'll tell you how much is possible, Arthur. It's possible to make it 0 right now, but it would mean 99.9% of people in the United States starving to death. It's possible. You're not going to like what it looks like, though, to really live in nature.
Mm-hmm.
But the point is, these overpopulated third world countries are the biggest danger to the environment. According to Climate Action Tracker, by 2030, China's emissions will stagnate, America's emissions will drop, but India's emissions will only continue to grow. To quote the Human Progress Institute, it is often assumed that economic prosperity leads to environmental degradation, but a new study challenges this view. Using data from 180 countries over 20 years, the study finds that higher levels of income per capita are associated with lower levels of air pollution and deforestation. Environmentally,
again, I'm not for pollution. I've never said I'm for pollution.
But see what's happening there. See what he's alluding. He's getting into what I'm alluding to. See, so at first he tries to be like, so the causality is in the direction of the more ecologically friendly you are, the more developed your country is. Now he's starting to say that economic development leads to you being ecologically friendly. So see how it's actually backwards and how that kind of undercuts his whole argument for why we need to be ecologically friendly as a matter of principle, because that will lead to economic development.
Mm-hmm. And we did get a super chat from Drellal 1381 for $10. Thank you very much. who says he totally ignores biogenetic nature sanctuaries to study animals that companies would love to set up. Zoos too. Yeah, I mean, we were talking about zoos earlier, indeed.
Friendly technology, cleanup operations, and ecological stewardship are expensive. Richer societies can afford to divert
How did they get rich?
more resources to protecting the environment, while poorer countries tend to be more concerned
Why are they poor?
with meeting basic living standards. For example, rich Western countries like America cook with gas-powered stoves or electric ovens. In
How did they get the gas? How did they get the electricity?
the third world, meanwhile, they're still using coal and burning wood, which is so.
Why is that? Why are they still using those things? Is it perhaps that they haven't conquered nature enough? Could that be this? He's like racking his brain for why this would be the case. I guess they just hate nature more, and we just love nature more, and that's how we became so rich.
So much worse for the environment. In the poorest regions of India, 90% of people burn biomass for heat. Ecologically catastrophic. Another example is catalytic converters. You install them in your car to lower fossil fuel emissions. They cost money, so.
And guess what? It doesn't lower fossil fuel consumption. Like, I mean, it doesn't lower the consumption. You're still using the same amount of gas. Okay. How do you think that gas gets there? Do you buy at the gas station? Is that how it gets there? Like, or did somebody frack it out of the ground? Did somebody dig it out of the deep ocean? Is that perhaps how it happened?
Only wealthy countries can afford them. Wealth also makes it way more feasible to hold large swaths of undeveloped land. I live way out in the country, and my neighbors.
Look at that. What did I say earlier? I'm perfectly fine if people fence off some piece of forest or whatever and use their own goddamn resources to maintain that. I'm perfectly fine with that. Never said I'm against that.
Own acres and acres of empty forest. It's absolutely.
I am wondering at this point if he actually, like, watched my video on this or read the manifesto, the anti-environment manifesto. I'm curious, or if he literally just saw that clip, which he included in the beginning, and that edit is all he knows about my position. Like, it seems like that edit is all he knows.
It seems like he had a couple of interactions with libertarians and then just like wanted to use that as a basis to jump off and like, you know, sound off and get on his soapbox about this particular issue. Like, it doesn't seem like he critically engaged with the arguments and then tried to build a response. And if he did do that, then, I mean, at the very least, if he didn't do that, then it just speaks to his, you know, lack of, not like his ignorance. If he did do that, then like there's something deeper going wrong with his ability to comprehend what's going on. Like, if I was him, I'd rather accept the argument that, yeah, I just didn't really pay attention to what was going on and I'm a bit lazy, rather than, yeah, I tried to internalize the arguments that were being made and I completely failed to.
Yeah.
Beautiful. It provides a habitat for deer and birds and bears, and many of my best days are just spent wandering through the woods and hills. If my neighbors were poor,
okay, just suggestion: don't go fucking wandering through the woods with bears. Okay, please. Anyone watching this video, if you know there are bears near your house in the woods, don't go there. Like, please, do not go into the woods near bears. That is not a good idea. Please.
Able to do that, they'd have to sell off the land to some real estate developer. As I explained in another award-winning video, there is an inverted Laffer-style curve. The greenest possible economies are primitive hunter-gatherer economies. Once you introduce agriculture and the Industrial Revolution, you have this huge increase in pollution. You have a population boom, and that's really bad for the environment. But once you get over that hump, more wealth and technology.
It's unholy, Arthur. Why would you start going over that hump? It's unholy. I wonder what God says about being unholy.
So I think this is where it's a good point for me to kind of touch on this more deeply. But like, yeah, no one is denying that we would agree that the expansion of our productive capacity and the increase in capital accumulation and the lowering of time preference leads to us clearly having more wealth, and then more wealth to where people can either decide that, hey, I want to, voluntarily expend some resources in order to, have a pet project where I'm protecting the environment, whatever that means. Again, we would dispute the idea that is, what is being done. It's more so that we're manipulating the environment in order to, maintain, certain flora or fauna that we like. No one's denying that increase in capital accumulation leads to that. If anything, it kind of cuts against his own argument, because he, again, initially was trying to claim that, if you do good stuff for the environment, then you get good outcomes, economically. And again, it's reversed, because either people can voluntarily do it, or the reality is, in the current regime, we've built up enough wealth to where we can afford for the state to siphon some of it away through theft toward random environmentalist pet projects, while still being, in relative terms, far wealthier than most people that have ever lived in the history of humanity. So, no, it's actually the destruction of the environment that you hate so much that got us into a position where we could do these kind of pet projects that you seem to like so much.
I do like this comment by Sick Vox, who says, environmentalists choose the bear over man. Indeed.
Actually helps the environment. For instance, civilization used to be powered by coal and whale fat, both of which are incredibly harmful for the ecosystem.
A lot of civilization still is powered by coal, by the way. Like, I think Australia, something like 80% of our electricity grid is powered by coal. But we have a fuckload of it here. And there's a whole bunch of environmentalists that want us to stop digging up coal. And it's just genuinely one of the most stupid things I've ever heard. The idea that you're going to replace coal with like solar and wind anytime soon, like, that's just completely retarded. A lot of wealthy countries, as well as a lot of developing countries, are still powered by coal.
And what is funny is that the environmentalists in Germany, they were concerned about nuclear, these environmentalists. So they got rid of all the nuclear power. Guess what they're using? They're using coal, right? Because you got to use something. It doesn't come from the store, okay? You got to produce it somehow.
Today, we use fossil fuels, which are so much better. And soon, we'll transition to nuclear power.
My Discord was hacked and it spammed links on your server and got banned. I deleted my account and made a new one. Can I get unbanned? Contact someone from like the new account or whatever.
Which is even better. And we would have done so already if it wasn't for government corruption. Video on that coming soon. Economic prosperity means that more people can afford education. It means more people can spend time hiking and enjoying the great outdoors. All of which creates better, smarter, kinder people who are more likely to care about nature and beauty. They're more likely to think long term instead of destroying the environment.
Again, it's a horror movie thing, right? They can care. They're able to care. That they get that immense privilege because nature was destroyed, it was tamed, it was conquered, right? Because it's been conquered.
Their idea of caring about nature is going to a zoo and looking at a fucking orangutan through a glass window. It's just like, that constitutes caring about the environment. Okay.
And then at Metos for $5 Australian. Thank you very much. It says, wait until he finds out what created the myth of God and what the Bible is written down on. Yeah, I mean, you got to do something unholy, I guess, to spread the holy word. It's very strange.
Environment for a quick buck. But of course, the biggest reason that economic prosperity is good for the environment is that rich people have less kids. Less kids means a smaller population, which means less overall pollution and waste. Why do rich people have less kids? 2 reasons. 1, they're more independent. People in third world countries don't really have a choice. They live in a big old hut with their parents and grandparents, and everyone is pressuring them to pump out as many babies as possible. And frankly, there's nothing better to do if you're a third worlder and
guess what? That's closer to nature. That is closer to nature. They're living way closer to nature than you ever have, Arthur. and hopefully than you ever will. You're not
I
gonna
love how
like
this guy, like, he's had like different eras over the course of, and right now he's in like his uh, American exceptionalist, like pro first world chauvinist era, where he's like just shitting on third worlders for popping out babies and burning biomass.
You don't have kids, you're just going to be lonely and bored. If you don't have kids, nobody will take care of you when you're old. But people in rich countries have options. You can get married and have kids if you want, or you can be a wealthy playboy bachelor, or you and your wife can be a childless couple and travel the world. Secondly, rich people have lower time preference, higher intelligence, and better education, all of which leads them to think ahead and use birth control more often and think carefully about the pros and cons before just going to town and having a bunch of babies with everyone who comes around. Okay, so what's my point? If
okay, great. Okay, we're 12 minutes into the video, and now he's going to get to the point. Okay, great. Now, please, give me the argument. Please, Arthur.
capitalism is good for the environment, wouldn't anarcho-capitalism be extra good for the environment? No, for 3 reasons. First, one of the reasons that rich...
Okay, so again, like, it's the presumption, the underlying premise is that it's good. The more good you are for the environment, the better the ideology is, I guess. But why is it good to be good to the environment? Why is that good, Arthur? Like, this is the argument he hasn't given yet in a video, which is supposed to be, that's supposed to be the thesis. Like, what is the argument? Please tell me the argument.
Yeah, it's just been just vague appeals to religion and aesthetics. And, you know, oh, the humanity, think of the fucking Beatles. That's basically what his premise is boiled down to.
countries do such a good job is because of government regulations. I mentioned catalytic converters, which help cars produce less pollution, but the only reason American cars have those is because they're legally required to.
Yeah, again, this is, why are they legally required to? You don't need the government for that. Okay, it's actually a crime to pollute somebody's property. That's a crime, and the courts already recognized that long before government regulators became involved. Okay, there's this story, the Libertarian Manifesto on Pollution. You can look it up, where there would be these factories pumping out a bunch of soot because they were coal burning, right? And a little old lady would hang up her washing. She'd hang it up, and it would be wet and clean. She'd come back later, it'd be dry and dirty because it got covered in a bunch of soot. And she could sue those factories, and they'd have an injunction against them. Hey, you got to stop doing that. They got to pay for the damages. And guess what they did? They didn't just stop using coal. What they did is they installed these filters in the chimneys, and they would use like cleaner forms of coal so that they're not polluting people, because that's actually a trespass against someone. It's a crime.
Gives us the wealth to afford green technologies, but that's not enough by itself. It's a necessary but not sufficient condition for green innovation. In Ancapistan, companies would have no incentive to implement these green technologies because the costs of pollution are spread out across vast swaths of the population.
And they would have to pay those costs. They would have to pay those costs, Arthur.
This is Econ 101, the Coase theorem. Pollution is what we call a diffuse externality, which means that the free market won't take care of it. It won't.
It already did. It already did take care of it, Arthur. It did take care of it. Guess what? Guess what we have now instead? The government came in and they decided, no, we want to have more factories, so we're no longer going to prosecute the factories. And guess what we have now? We have the EPA, the Environmental Protection Agency, which says, yep, no, sorry, we can't stop them from doing that pollution because they've got a pollution license. They're allowed to pollute no more than this level, and they're under that level. So, sorry, they're allowed to do that pollution. The Environmental Protection Agency, Arthur.
Take that into account. That is where government regulation fills the gaps. Even libertarian economists, unless they're totally dogmatic, will admit this. Yeah, because of the Coase theorem, there are certain regulations we need to account for externalities.
I don't think it's too dogmatic to point out that the free market already solved this problem. It wasn't government regulators who solved it, Arthur. It was already solved.
This is just accepted. Secondly, Ancapistan doesn't have national parks. The Everglades and Yellowstone and Yosemite would no longer be protected by law. They would be owned by...
It would if somebody fenced it off and controlled it. Then it would be protected by law.
private corporations. Maybe some of those corporations would preserve the land in its natural beauty, but most of them would probably just cut down the trees and slaughter the bison to build shopping malls and golf courses. Again, nobody's...
Oh no, think of the fucking bison. Like, no, the idea that natural wonders like Yellowstone or the Grand Canyon aren't going to continue to be tourist attractions that are wildly profitable because you can sell fucking overpriced, gimmicky tourist things to Europeans or whoever are coming to have a look at it. Like, that's still going to be an obscenely profitable way to run a business, even under a free market. So the idea that people would just, build a highway in to replace the Grand Canyon, like, why the fuck would you bother when you can make probably more money just leaving it as it is, homesteading it, and then selling trinkets to people that want to come and look at it?
That capitalism is better for the environment than socialism. But regulated capitalism is even better because you can set aside national parks, you can ban plastic bags and plastic straws, you can ban fossil fuels and make everyone use nuclear power, you can sterilize criminals to decrease the population, etc. But by far,
That was
the worst
fucking
problem...
wild.
Jesus.
He's like, oh yeah, we can do all these like minor regulations on the environment, like basically like standard shit lib stuff. Oh, and also we can sterilize criminals. I was like, Jesus. That's kind of out of nowhere.
He went off on a bit of a tirade there.
with Ancapistan is that
Australia banned plastic bags ages ago. It's the worst fucking thing ever because we have to use these stupid paper bags that you have to pay 25 cents for anytime you want to go to the supermarket. It's just an absolute pain in the ass, and I want them to bring back plastic fucking bags like we used to have. I want my microplastics in my fucking bloodstream.
Yeah.
Give them back to me.
And the thing is, like, plastic, it wasn't like a mistake. Like, it's not just out of nowhere. It turns out plastic is actually incredibly cheap to manufacture, which is why shops were willing to give it away for free. And it's actually a very useful material, right? The world is built on plastic. Because guess what you have to do if you don't want plastic? You have to use ivory. Do you want to go back to ivory, Arthur? Is that what you want?
Yeah, kill off a bunch of fucking elephants. I'm sure I'd be happy about that.
you can only own a forest by destroying it. To understand this, you need to understand the concept.
Again, no, you don't have to destroy the forest. You have to get rid of the natural component. You have to control it. You have to exclude people from it. Then you can do whatever the hell you want with it, including...
You actually cultivate the forest.
Yeah.
Like, you can make it even more foresty and plant more trees there.
Yeah, make it however you want, Arthur. But don't pretend that that's nature.
Concept of homesteading. Imagine a snowy forest in Alaska. Does anybody own that forest? According to libertarian ethics,
maybe.
No. In order
Maybe.
to own that land...
According to libertarians, according to the libertarian you're responding to here, maybe. Depends, right? It's possible to own a forest.
You can't just claim it. You can't just say, dibs on Alaska.
Indeed, you can't just say dibs. That's not sufficient. What is sufficient? Exclusion, Arthur. I explain all of this in the article and video you apparently didn't actually engage with. I think it literally is. He just saw this clip and was like, yeah, I'm going to respond to that clip now. You didn't even see like the follow-up argument I gave right after that clip was taken.
You have to physically transform it in some way that is externally verifiable. Maybe you could cut down the trees, maybe you could spray pesticides on the ground, maybe you could mine for gold, but you have to somehow mingle your labor with the soil. This goes all the way back to John Locke. He said, you can't own an apple tree unless you trim the leaves or harvest the apples. But here's the problem. When you change the wilderness, it's no longer wilderness.
I wonder who said that. I wonder if I said that in the very first paragraph of the manifesto. Weird.
The whole point of nature is that it's pristine, wild, untouched by human hands. If you go around spraying pesticides and cutting down the trees,
I completely agree with this thesis. Indeed, this is my thesis. And that's my thesis statement.
Yeah, and on that thesis, there is, as you've said, basically no wilderness out there other than the most remote and inhospitable regions of the world. Like, okay, you can go there if you want, but that's about it.
you've ruined it. In other words, under anarcho-capitalist ethics, preserving nature is impossible. Either you claim it first by transforming it, or it's just up for grabs. In practice, this would
Does he have a picture of Yakub behind him? He keeps like leaning out of the way of the... I think he's got a picture of Yakub.
create a frenzied scrabble where everyone is rushing to claim as much land as possible by plowing down the forest and tearing up the soil. If you don't claim it, someone else will, and you can't do anything about that. They can do whatever they want with it. I think this image from an ANCAP website really says it all. Lush, green, living jungles cannot be property. Sterile, barren farms can.
Again, any European forest you've seen, it was a farm, right? It was controlled by medieval loggers, okay? They made it that way. They deliberately so. And then Heterodox Agnostic 8070 for 20 kroner, thank you very much, is quoting the mingle your labor with the soil. Yeah, I don't agree with that. That's not my view of homesteading. Well, which of course Arthur would find out if he actually engaged with my arguments.
Yeah, that's Lockean bullshit.
Yeah.
The libertarian theory of homesteading feels intuitive. In contrast to statist land allocation, which relies on arbitrary historical claims, the homesteading principle seems simple, principled, and morally intuitive. Whoever first mixes his labor with unowned matter acquires ownership of that matter. Simple as. That system works pretty well when you're dealing with pioneers in coonskin hats, but it doesn't work in modern societies with huge transnational corporations.
What changed, Arthur? Hopefully he's going to go into what changed. What stops it from working in the modern world?
He's not got much time left. He's got like 72 seconds to make the case.
I mean, maybe he saves his argument for the end, and now he's going to tell us his argument.
Fringe, fire, and drones. If you think through the incentives here, a bleak conclusion becomes inevitable. Anarcho-capitalism would strongly incentivize large-scale, destructive, and ecologically catastrophic vandal homesteading. Bulldozing topsoil, intentionally spilling oil, dumping chemicals, these are all very cheap, very fast ways of claiming as many acres as possible. Yeah, sure, it will ruin the soil and destroy valuable...
You know, I'm going to start up a logging company. You know how I'm going to claim some land, some prime real estate, to grow my trees, and I'm going to dump a bunch of chemicals into the soil to basically destroy the entire land. And then I think the trees will grow pretty good.
Resources temporarily, but when you're racing to claim the wilderness before your competitors get there, ruined land is better than no land. I'm not just making this up. Companies do this in real life. Google slash and burn agriculture. In Ancapistan, property rights are permanent, so the incentive to claim as many acres as possible is overwhelming. Again, I'm not saying that capitalism is bad.
We want all that land to be claimed. Like, you know, that's a good thing.
Yeah, and it does appear that we overestimated him. He did not include the argument in the last 70 odd seconds of the video, it seems, because now we've got the end screen and we didn't get the argument.
Yeah. Well, like, we can watch a video about Nick Fuentes and transgenderism.
Yeah.
So if we want.
Oh my god. So yeah, no, this video is ridiculous. He didn't engage with my argument in the slightest. Ludicrous video. Let me just, real quick, before we move on to the next thing, we're gonna go refill my water. But yeah, no, Arthur,
yeah, cool.
if you want to actually engage with the arguments, I suggest you do that. You know, if you want to debate me, feel free to get in touch with me, and we can debate, and you can show out the world how silly I am and how it's good to be
staying in nature. Go ahead and we'll do that. How about? Yeah, let me alter.
Zulu has made another fatal error by leaving me to talk to the chat. It's fucking 1:37 in the morning here, man. I should probably be going to sleep, but we're here now, so it looks like Prax's been on HRT. Monhop, I added you on Discord. Could you please accept? Sure, I can do that. Notifications. I'm not going to lie, despite the fact that I'm a moderator, allegedly, I'm not very good at Discord. I'm going to be totally honest. But I will. Yeah, no, I tend to read. I'm not going to. I chugged a V, which is an energy drink. I don't know if you guys have it wherever you are in the world, but I got a couple more hours in me left, depending on how long we want to go for. But it was quite funny dealing with those tech issues earlier. It genuinely felt like just everything that could possibly go wrong went wrong. But we soldiered on because we wanted to get this done. Oh, here's Zulu's back.
Hello. Got myself some
Hey.
olives as well because I haven't fucking eaten any.
I'll whack down a salted dark chocolate almond muesli, high protein muesli bar while we were doing that. So, bit of a snack at 1:39 in the morning.
Yeah. All right. So you wanted to do the Well, when we've got the activity now, we should do the video.
I was gonna say the exact same thing. I think while we've got the activity working, maybe we should do Andrew Wilson rather than swapping and changing.
The link.
My cat's very, very confused right now. I don't know if you guys can hear him, but he's like, "Why the fuck are you still up at this hour?"
Patient rights at all.
All right. Video.
Oh,
So yeah,
from
so
your
I wanted
view.
to while we're waiting for this to all get sorted, I wanted to do this video just because I thought it was a good demonstration by Andrew Wilson of how to deal with leftists when you're in a debate with them, because they are deceitful and liars, and they deserve to be treated with absolute disdain at every possible opportunity. You know, I was a debater on like text platforms for a while, and I used to try and engage with communists in good faith, and it was just that experience over the course of a couple of years just led me to realize that there really is no point in trying to do that because that good faith will not be reciprocated. And so I've taken a far more maximalist view as far as you just need to be as derogatory towards communists as possible, because, as you've kind of alluded to, it's not really about convincing them. It's about convincing the audience of how stupid they are. That is a far more worthy cause than trying to convince any given communist to stop being a communist, in my opinion.
Just before we get into this as well, Heterodox Agnostic 872 has done 2 back-to-back super chats for 20 and 50 crooner, so thank you very much. Who says that Arthur Greenwood looks like Praxben on HRT. Yeah. And then
I read that out before. That was pretty fun.
And then G seems to want to debate with Nye. If it happens, could you moderate? Or maybe Monhop could. Yeah, I can moderate if they want. And yeah, they're wanting to debate on guardianship theory.
Rights are a social construct, aren't they?
I mean, rights are whoever is able to enforce them.
That's right. So it's a social construct. Do you believe in objective truth?
No.
So I can't believe in...
It is interesting that he's running the same line of argument against this lady as he ran against Dave Smith.
One sec. Let me, because it's playing the Arthur Greenwood video again on mine. Fucking weird.
Oh.
Let me close and open that again.
Yeah.
Fucking hell. Honestly. Let me expand that again. Alright, try and click play.
Anything you say.
Okay, no. It's, what the fuck? It's still on that, the last video. That is so fucking weird. How's it playing 2 different videos? Okay, I'm just going to leave the call entirely. I'll be back.
Yeah, fucking... All the technology is conspiring against us to try and prove old Arthur correct, I guess.
Alright, I think that is better. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, I think that should be better now if you click play.
And you don't believe that there's any such thing as rights.
That's good.
Good. Okay. You know, I was commenting. He's running the same line of argument against this lady as he ran against Dave Smith. He's trying to establish that rights are a social construct. I just found that very interesting. It's the same line of argument against both.
But so, it's wrong.
It's not necessarily an argument that you or I would probably make, because it would require us to be slightly bad faith in the sense that we're not going to defend our own position. We're going to defend like a nihilist or take on a nihilist framing. But it is an effective argument to just be like, okay, I just accept your framing. Why should I not do what I want to do anyway? Because your ethics completely permits me to do exactly this, because you have no ethics, fundamentally.
Wrong for me to do something bad to you, even though there's no moral facts. Ingenious. This is your opposition, ladies and gentlemen. These are the communists who are taking over academia.
And you can see he's just speaking directly to the audience here. Like he's not speaking to her.
The point is not to convince her, it's to convince us.
Doge does say for thighs, but thank you very much. The delay was ironically well timed for me because I just finished work when you started streaming, so thanks for that. Well, yeah, maybe you hacked my phone and made it happen.
And teaching your kids. What's in dispute here is not whether or not you can craft societies in which men grant women rights. Because I would argue that obviously we can see societies right this second. We live in one where men grant women rights.
God, I don't want to interrupt you, but God grants the rights in our society.
Oh, yeah, does he?
Well, that's what the Constitution says.
Well, the Constitution operates on an axiom that all men are created equal under God, right? This is axiomatic. I'm not saying, I don't think it's grounded, and I don't think it's well philosophically grounded. While I, as a Christian, would argue that there's some positive rights, or at least could argue that there's positive rights. From her view, there isn't rights at all. From your view, rights are a social construct, aren't they?
I mean, rights are whoever is able to enforce them.
That's right. So it's a social.
And it's just like, break that down. Rights are whoever is able to enforce them. Now, you know, again, Monhop is rubbing off on me. I don't want to give her any good faith. So rights are the people who are capable of enforcing those rights.
That's what rights are. That rights are whoever is capable of enforcing them. Now, if we be a little more good faith, maybe she meant to say that rights are whatever obtains, I guess. So yeah, it's just complete positivism. What is the point of this area of philosophy? Like, what is it? Who you say that's a right? Okay, so what? What does this mean? Why do I care about that? It's just ludicrous.
And it's just like, on that view, why hold any? Why be a Marxist? Because it doesn't matter. Like that's like, it literally doesn't matter. If that's the view, is the rights just are what they are what happens to obtain at any given moment, then what is the reason why you are advocating for Marxism? Because like if your society obtains, then great. If it doesn't, well, that's fine as well. It just does not matter on that view.
It also takes a lot of gusto out of the whole exploitation thing. Like, well, they didn't have that right to not have their surplus value taken or whatever. They didn't have that right because it didn't obtain.
Construct.
But I don't even really dispute with you about the force thing. Like, who determines a right? Is that by divine right, by God or whatever? But like, as far as like the practical reality of like who can enforce their rights, that really comes down to force.
I just want to make sure we get this clear. Is a right a social construction from your view? We make it up.
And you can see he's very good at this. He really needs to build up this argument. He's very clear on this argument. He's presumably used it many times in the past. And he knows, no, we got to be clear. Like, slow down. Let's just is it a social construct or not?
And then we have guns and say, do it or else. Or these people are allowed to do it or else.
There's something about my answer intuitively that wants to say, no, I don't believe it's.
Yeah, she can see where it's going on some level. That's why she's like, intuitively, I want to say no, but she doesn't really have any other grounding. Because I imagine she hasn't really thought deeply about the nature of rights.
Just like a...
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
Yeah, and that's why she just adopts the legal positivism, because that's just like the default assumption.
The term basic human rights for them is just something to like be bandied around as like, well, housing is a human right and food is a human right. It's like it's supposed to put a moral obligation on someone else, but not on them.
Yeah.
And it doesn't actually, deep down, doesn't actually carry any weight. It's just supposed to shame you into doing stuff for them.
Yeah, they use it as a weapon. When we talk about rights, we're not using it as like a way to weaponize against someone. We're talking about like, no, this is actually like something inherent. This means something here. But yeah, this lady apparently does not understand that very deeply.
Social thing or social phenomenon or construct. I don't know, not divine command theory though, so I'm not sure.
Yeah, I don't know, but not what you say. Like this is not a good place to be in a debate.
So you can't ground it in anything, can you?
I guess not, no.
Yeah, because you just make them the up, don't you?
What do you ground it in?
Well, I ground it in God, but I have a different worldview than you.
This is just going to be a slaughter at this point, because she's just saying, I don't have anything to ground it in. But not what you say. It's like, so he can basically just do whatever the hell he wants now. He could go like take a break or something like, and he's still like he's totally frame mogging her to use a Zoomer term.
And when we're debating this, we're debating it from the prism of our worldview. While I, as the Christian, might be able to grant that there are rights, why should I ever grant them to you, commie? You don't believe in them at all. From your view, if I take away all of your rights, we just made them the up anyway.
I feel like it's a highly reductive way to.
So this touches on an interesting point, and something that I think I've talked to this a little bit with Casimir, and like when it comes to like a genuinely card carrying communist, like someone who you are confident with almost as much certainty as you can have about these sort of things, that this person is a genuine communist, like holds all of the beliefs about property and everything else that go with that. Is it actually theft to just take anything that's in their possession and claim it as your own? And my answer is potentially not, right? Because if they have been projecting outward the view that you cannot own private property under any circumstances, and that every single thing that they own, that everyone else owns, properly understood is communal property, then why can't I just walk into their house and take this? Again, they should be consenting to it. That's the point. Even under our theory of property rights, okay, they are saying outwardly, I don't claim ownership over this thing if they are being ideologically consistent. So I don't know, I want to get your thoughts on that. Do you kind of agree that, like, hey, if a communist, if you find a genuine communist, I wouldn't recommend it necessarily, but you could, it would be licit for you to just be like, yeah, I'm just going to take your car for a spin. I'll be back in, 45 minutes or so. Like, there's not really anything wrong with that in theory.
So there's a big if there. You said if they're being ideologically consistent. Now, part of the program with communists is to not be ideologically consistent. So I don't think it meets the bar of estoppel yet. Like the beauty of estoppel is that it's their actions. Literally, their actions are what imply it. So they can't back out of it. Whereas if it's just their words, they just say theft is good. Well, they can immediately flip on that in the next moment. They're no longer stopped.
Yeah, that's the thing. So exactly. So that's why you have to be sneaky about it, right? You have to steal their car. Well, not steal it because it's not stealing. You just have to take their car in the dead of night, and they can't argue against it, and it's not theft. No, I'm only joking, of course. Everyone, definitely joking.
It's like, did you see Drew Pavlou? He tried that against Billie Eilish because he said something about there's no property on stolen land. So he went to the US to try and live in her mansion,
live in her house, in Malibu or whatever. Yeah, that was funny. Drew Pavlou has had the most insane arc. He's one of the most hilarious Australian. Just some of the stuff that he does. Like he was at he went to this communist anti. Obviously, when that whole Maduro thing happened, when the US took him from just in the dead of night, and all these communists in Australia were up in arms about it. And he just walks into the protest and starts saying, USA, USA. It's I'm an American patriot. And all these people are you're a fucking Australian, you idiot. And he's like, no, I'm an American. I'm an American patriot. I love the United States of America. He's had a very interesting career arc recently. I'll say that much.
Yeah, no, he used to be quite the cool account. Recently he's been a lot better.
Yeah, he posts some gems from time to time. I'll say that much.
Yeah.
Oh, there was also the one he's had this bit going where he pretends to be American, and it'll be he acts like an American. He's like, oh, I will under no circumstances will I be voting for Kamala Harris in the 2024 election. That's just a tweet. And everyone's like, Drew, you're Australian. Of course you weren't voting in the fucking election, you retard. You're Australian. He's like, no. I'm definitely not voting in the 2024 US election for Kamala Harris. Under no circumstances will I vote for her.
Yeah, no, it's I think some Indian or something. When Trump was elected, they were like, Trump is not my president.
Yeah.
I guess so. So Zetetic did the donation over Ko-fi. I assume you're fine with this being read out. Apologies if not. That was for $5. Does this ping your thing on stream? I guess Ko-fi takes less money than Super Chats. Yeah, I mean, if your Super Chat isn't going through, then you can do it through Ko-fi, I guess. It's just weird. Why? Apparently it went through, but it doesn't display. I don't know what's. Get into this.
Characterize my arguments.
I'm sorry you feel that way, but how is it not the case that from your view, we just made them the up? They're not grounded in anything, and if I take them away, how's that even immoral?
You conceive of these things and look at them through lenses that I just don't find useful, or I have not thought to do so.
From the Marxist lens?
They could be useful. No, I'm saying from a Marxist material sense, yes. But like, I mean, my general opinion on rights is that they're useless if you only have them de jure, but you don't actually have a way to enforce them. Or similarly, it is, I wouldn't say equally as futile, but it's also a precarious position to be in where you can enforce your rights, but you have not actually secured the legal protections and the de jure actually gotten them ensconced in writing in a constitution, etc.
But how is it not the weakest sand on earth to say that we need to enforce these rights that I just made the fuck up? Because they're not grounded in anything. I just made them up.
And you think that them being grounded in God makes it more superior?
Well, I think that the only argument that you can give to men, the benevolency of the patriarchy, is the entire appeal from people with your worldview is to appeal to us and our view who believe in rights because of God and say to us, don't we deserve them too, even though we don't actually even share the view? To which I tell Christians, no.
It is important to point out that parasitism that's going on, right? Where they will rely on your better nature and your willingness to adhere to your principles to make the justification for their worldview. Because that's exactly what she's doing, right? She'll be like, well, I don't believe in rights, but you believe in rights, and therefore you should grant me those rights. And it's like, well, like, yeah, like philosophically, to be philosophically consistent, yes, I have to grant you the same rights if we're holding a universal ethic. But that doesn't make your argument, it makes my argument, right? So you don't get to be a parasite off of that and use the existence of my moral justifications to demonstrate why we should adhere to your subjective preferences on this or any other matter.
Yeah, it's almost like an Atlas Shrugged thing. Like, okay, I'll grant you everything you're saying, and you're not gonna like it, because they rely on this sort of guilt being felt by the producers. This is the Atlas Shrugged part of it. But here, they're relying on the very thing that they want to destroy. It's very sinister.
Give them nothing because they're appealing to your benevolence, and they should beg for you to be as benevolent as you are, because from their worldview, they have nothing to ground it in. Like you said, you have nothing to ground it in. You just made them up. Why should I believe them? Why should I believe that you have a right to do anything? You don't even believe you have a right to do anything.
Why should I believe in like divine command theory and that because God says it is, then it is?
That's the beautiful part of the argument. You don't. Because if we're operating off of your view...
Yeah, this is very... Because now she's just like, well, why should I believe in what you say? Well, it doesn't matter. Because he's saying, well, what you do believe, you don't have rights, so end of discussion, basically.
Yeah.
Why should I?
I'm just gonna grant that it's false. Who cares? If we're both building it off of a house of sand, and I just made up divine command theory, and you just which, by the way, I don't believe in divine command theory, but if I did,
I'm sorry.
Okay, if I just grant that I made it up,
that actually
help your position a bit.
What is me? I don't actually really. That's the one thing, and this is the part where it is kind of annoying with Wilson, is that like his whole argument style is to just grant the other person their entire worldview, because he always debates these like moral relativist people who don't believe in any objective ethics, and then uses that to then demonstrate why he can just do whatever he wants anyway, and they have no way to oppose it on a philosophical level, right? But I'm curious on what his actual moral stance is on these issues, and you never really find it out, because like I thought he was a divine command theorist, and I'm pretty sure he fucking said in the Dave Smith debate that he was a divine command theorist. So I'm really fucking confused as to what exactly he believes. And it would be nice to at least know that, because I have watched, to be honest, a fair bit of his content, and he's never really that specific about it, and it's a bit strange, if I'm honest.
It is definitely an effective tactic against these people, but yeah, I also thought he was a divine command theorist, so I'm not exactly sure what he does. Now that I'm recalling it, he does literally fucking say in that Dave Smith debate that he is a divine command theorist. Like now I'm recalling it, he literally does say that. So I don't know if he was lying there. Like I can't imagine that. I mean, maybe he's had like a change of heart, but I don't know. It seems like he's like fairly been consistent as far as his views on these issues. It'd be weird if like his entire justification or grounding of ethics
changed from that Dave Smith debate till now, despite him still being, as far as I know, of the same. He's still a Christian, obviously, and still of the same denomination. So it'd be quite weird. Yeah, I don't know what's going on there, but trying to figure out exactly what theists are thinking is on these matters is sometimes be quite difficult.
Yeah.
Divine command theory.
It only helps my position. Hang on a second, Ian. 1 second. It only helps my position. Sure, I made the whole thing.
Yeah, because I mean, Ian
just sitting there being just nodding his head like a fucking meerkat or something, like, oh yeah, what's this?
Yeah, because Ian is in like a completely different realm than Andrew. Andrew is very much trying to build up this argument. He's like, oh, let's talk about that. It's like, no, this is not the time. It's not like a friendly podcast we're having. Yeah. This is, I got to debate this lady.
He's just kind of like Lil Bro movie. He's like, just a second, Ian. I promise I'll get to you. Just let me finish destroying this communist first.
How's that helpful to you?
Well, I'm asking, how do you intend to spread this to people that don't believe in your worldview?
With this argument. Because you're going to have to appeal. You're going to have to appeal to my worldview, whether it's true or not, because it's the only one, right? Which I'm going to postulate. I'm going to ground rights in. You just got done saying rights are not grounded in anything. So if that's the case, fine. I lied and made the whole thing up. But rights aren't grounded in anything anyway, so it doesn't help you a bit. If I take them away.
But you think they're grounded in the divinity, so I'm saying that a lot of people.
So you're appealing to my view.
Yeah, she's floundering here, bro. He just went through explaining her only option, and she just went down exactly the route he explained. It's like, you're gonna have to appeal to my worldview, and then she's immediately like, well, you think rights are grounded in it, so yeah, you're appealing to my worldview.
Yeah, exactly.
You again?
Yeah, so I'm appealing to your view. And in a world that's increasingly secular, how do you intend to persuade people? Do you think that Christians ought to be using force or persuasion?
What do you mean?
In a world that is increasingly this is the type of route that you often see in policy debate. And I hate it. It's like, well, in a world which is increasingly they do. I don't even know how to properly describe that. That's the shape of that sentence you see very often in high school debate and stuff like that, and I hate it. It's like an appeal to well, that's the way the world is, because it's easier to I don't know necessarily why they do it. It seems like they think it's easier to prove that or whatever, and they have to take on all these positions they don't necessarily agree with. Yeah, that's not true debate.
Yeah, it's just a roughly vague appeal to the present state of affairs or cultural attitudes, because they are cultural and moral relativists, right? So they're like, well, we live in this predominantly secular culture nowadays, so what do you have to say about that? And it's like, well, yeah. I don't fucking care. If I'm a Christian, it's like, well, I don't care what the prevailing cultural attitudes are of this country. I believe I have an objectively correct moral system, so why don't you contend with that? But yeah, it is super important, just back on what we were discussing just before, because this is communists will do this in not just in Christian debates, in any kind of debate. Their arguments will be something on the lines of don't you just think that people should have access to healthcare or food or whatever? Their whole argument relies on an appeal to your better nature or appeal to your generosity or something. And so it's very important to know how to navigate that properly, because I do think that ideally people would have food and water and shelter and all that, but I'm not just going to grant that it is a moral obligation on anyone, because in doing so, I'm allowing them to, again, be a parasite and take advantage of my ethical code in order to justify their worldview.
And a huge hat, Harold, for $2. Thank you. Would you read my Ko-fi as well? I haven't seen it come through. When that comes through, yeah, I'll read it.
What do you mean? I'm sorry. Me? Why do I need to do anything when the view of my opposition is that they have no rights, can't ground them in
I'm not
any...
saying that you need to do it. I'm asking you how you intend to.
This is how I intend to do it, by pointing out that you live in your whole house is built on sand.
Persuasion.
And you have to literally appeal to me. Well, even if I used force, you have no appeal against that. Nothing's grounded in anything. It's just all made the up.
Sure, yeah. I guess I sleep fine at night knowing this or whatever. I guess I would consider I'm like a moral anti-realist. I don't believe in these sorts of like.
And that's why you have to. And you guys always have to appeal, you moral anti-realist, to moral realists who believe in moral facts, because that's what prevents us from all of you.
But to answer your question,
but hang on. Isn't that true? That what prevents us from all of you?
Yeah, I like this. He's kind of like in a victory lap in the middle of this. Like, no, hold on, let's stick with this for another second. You have to appeal to the moral realists, because that's the only thing which stops us from just killing you.
Is you're appealing?
I think he's saying enslave. I don't know. I was trying to read him there because for some reasons. I think he's saying enslave. I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I mean, I know a lot of channels like do that type of thing where they'll like censor fucking anything. I mean, unless he just screams the N-word in the middle of this, you don't really have to censor it. You're not going to get demonetized.
I watched a clip where they were talking about abortion, and it was the Whatever podcast, and they're like insane about TOS. Like they are so strict about what you can say, and they had to say something like schmishmortion or something for the word abortion, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, honestly, I would just rather just not do the podcast versus have to say, I don't want to schmurder my baby. I'm not going to have a schmishmortion after being raped or something. Like, just fuck off, honestly.
Yeah, it's very childish.
Take the TOS strike at that point rather than speaking this gibberish.
Yeah, the only platform where it makes sense to censor like that is TikTok, because they actually like...
That was so funny.
Oops, daisies. Restream just had a little bit of a conniption there. Okay, so yeah, Huge Chat Harold. I found the Ko-fi donation. In the law, Bastiat sets up a trichotomy that reminded me of yours. Did he influence your thinking in this regard? He didn't. Been a while since I've read the law, so I'm not sure exactly what you're referring to, but thank you very much for the $5. Yeah.
To our benevolence as moral realists.
You mean Christians? What prevents Christians from...
Yeah, the stream stopped for a few seconds. Is it still the same link? Presumably it is, because you just sent that chat. But yeah, that's... Don't know what happened there.
Everybody else?
Yeah.
I don't believe so, but okay.
Yeah, they're not appealing to their Christianity and Christian ethics to just not go ahead and enslave all women?
No, I don't think so, no.
Why not?
Because I don't think that has necessarily been the basis for people arguing for equality or whatever. I don't think that you're presupposing that it's always been by virtue of like appealing to Christian benevolence, ethics, etc.
Never seen any appeal that was not dogmatic and religious for why women have rights ever in all of human history. They always appeal to a God. They always appeal to a higher power. They always appeal to something external to them. You just got done saying it's not grounded in anything. You made it up. If it's completely made up, it's not grounded in nothing, then you're appealing to Christians and Christian benevolence and their view. Even if it's not true, you're appealing to their view that they believe it's true, to not just stuff you in a cage. And if you said that's wrong and they asked you why is it wrong, you'd have to say, I don't know. It's not grounded in anything. I just made it up. And that's the most persuasive argument on planet.
Pile 12, bro's never met an objectivist. Well, I mean, I think he's aware that there are other moral realist positions. He's aware of objectivism. But like, Restream is having another goddamn conniption. What the hell is going on? I'm back. But yeah, no, what I was saying is, if he gave her objectivism, that's just giving her like a life raft where she can go like, yeah, that one. He's got to frame it as if, well, no, you've just got to appeal to my worldview because you have nothing, and then he's gonna have to get something. What's the chance you can debate him? Then you guys talk about doing it after your Jay Dyer debate, or whatever his name is. Yeah, I mean, I assume he would accept a debate with me. I just have to come up with some sort of proposition or whatever. Not sure what exactly it would be on. Yeah,
definitely don't do a Dave Smith and put yourself in a position where you have to argue that libertarianism is better than Christian ethics or something like
Yeah.
that's such a yeah, I know we've rehashed that so many times, but such a bad top, like just such a way to put yourself on the back foot there by being like, yeah, I have to do all the heavy lifting here and prove everything, and you have to prove nothing.
Which is
not
like,
a good way to do a debate.
Andrew Wilson is a fierce debater. Like you can tell, like he came into that with a plan. He like was able to sneak that resolution past Dave. Like he knew exactly what was going on there. That he could just say,
well,
if they're equal,
by the time it came to debating you.
Yeah.
He was like, "Oh shit, I've been fucked over by bad resolutions before."
Yeah. Oh my god. That, like people don't understand. Like making that resolution was so fucking like tiresome. The resolution we landed on, my interpretation of what was being said. Apparently, this wasn't what was being intended by Winograd, but my interpretation was basically it's either this or nothing. So I was like, okay, well, I guess I'll go for that. Like I wanted a different sort of resolution. I think the resolution we had was not ideal. But yeah, no, it was like, okay, well, I got to go for it then.
Yeah. I mean, it's never really a good sign about you. I mean, you obviously don't want to accept, I just said it, like really, really bad resolutions. But, you know, if you're knocking back just dozens of resolutions that are being offered, like, might be a sign you're not that confident in your position if you need to craft the resolution exactly right for yourself.
Earth, in my opinion.
I think that the founding fathers sat around and had this conversation, and they're like, look,
I don't like this sort of moderator where he's like, now I'm going to chip in with my idea. Like, no, let them debate. Let Andrew, like, complete like the story he's painting here. Stop. I don't want this guy butting in. Like, this completely, like, just destroys the back and forth. I don't like it. I did notice that Zetetic did another Kofi donation. Didn't you promise to stop using Restream and start using OBS again after? What? I don't recall doing that, but yeah, I did. When did I don't remember saying that. I don't know why.
You've defrauded your audience by using Restream rather than OBS.
You know, the reason I stopped using OBS, the multi-stream plugin, is because I just don't have good enough internet for it. I have these multiple separate upload streams. Yeah. Yeah, he's trying to turn it into a three-way convo instead of a debate, lol. Yeah, which is like, I get that that's his style. Like, oh, let's just get along. Let's just discuss these. Like, that's not the mode we're in right now. The mode we're in right now is Andrew has to tear this lady apart. That's what's going to happen.
We know through all human history, rights were dictated by who had the guns, who had the strength.
I suppose Andrew, Andrew is letting this happen. So I suppose, he's only got a certain amount of agi, where he can like cut off the moderator, the host. You can only do that so many times, and he probably feels as if he's already kind of established what he needs to establish.
Oh yeah, he's ground the woman into the ground, so he's probably like, yeah, we can talk about something else now, or go on a tangent.
Change that because it constantly Goblin King switches hands. The next strongest guy overthrows. Oh, so they're like, let's say it's from God, or they really believed it. I know they were like Christian dudes. Not all of them were like Catholic or anything. I mean, they were all their own. Thomas Jefferson wrote his own Bible. What's that?
I said very few were Catholic.
I think a lot of them were deists,
so they said, let's just appeal.
I'm sorry, I just got jump scared. Who the fuck's that blonde lady?
Wait, what the fuck? I feel like this is more of like a panel discussion, and so like it was actually Wilson that was trying to create space for himself by like warding off Ian in the first place to just kind of like really grind this woman into the ground before like it just became more of an open like discussion. But yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of the founding fathers were deists. I don't know exactly like whether that's true or not. Because I have heard people argue that that's like something that, atheists will say to try and discredit the amount of Christian influence there was on the Constitution or the Declaration of Independence. But I'm not exactly too sure. But
yeah,
they were clearly inspired by religion, given that, the whole, like, we are endowed by our creator with inalienable rights, that whole spiel in the Declaration of Independence.
And Heterodox Agnostic 8070 clarified that he meant Streamlabs. I assume you're meaning I said I would stop using StreamYard, which is true. It's because I had to pay for like 1 month of it to appear on the Dave Smith stream, so that I could properly restream it. And then I was only going to use it for that 1 month.
Appeal it to God. Whether or not it's true, I don't know. I don't know what God is.
But they knew that the moral order depended on a Christian worldview. The more you go into like arbitrary kind of reason for rights, even if they weren't Christian. I think, was it John Adams that said a democratic republic is only fit for a moral and Christian society?
There's actually several foundational contributors who talked about how there has to be a shared sense of morality inside of a public in order for there to be a republic.
Mm-hmm.
So that's true. I think that's true of any society. I think there has to be some shared glue, right? Here we used to have like patriotism. We used to have all sorts of things that were a shared glue. That's all gone, right? Now I have to share my country with communists, right? And it used to be that we persecuted
I agree with
communists.
this, and it's why communism is destructive, or one of the reasons, not the primary reason, but one of the reasons, or moral relativism is destructive, is because it inevitably breaks down as he put it, like the glue that binds, communities of people together. And we want people to be, obviously in the proper sense, they're still individuals, but we want people to be parts of communities and come together and help one another for the betterment of their own. And so you need, again, like making kind of a consequentialist argument, like these moral views or these shared moral beliefs that are grounded in something that people at least believe is objective is far better than having nothing, no shared understanding of what is ethical whatsoever, which would be what would be implied by this lady's worldview.
Yeah, it's almost like a philosophical theory of history point, where it's like, yeah, people have to like kind of agree with that, and that's why you get so much problems when the philosophy is like changing to something like moral relativism.
Yeah, that was so base. We get back to that. Can we get back to persecuting the commies? But the point is like this type of poison, in my opinion, is so invasive to the fabric of the United States that people who literally tell me they can't ground anything in nothing, know that they can't ground anything in nothing, that there's no such thing as moral facts, then tell me it's wrong if I stuff them in a... And it's like, what?
I think he's saying rape cage.
Are you talking about? That's the stupidest that I've ever heard in my life, but that's my opposition, unfortunately. And so they appeal to the benevolence of those like me in order to prevent us from doing the thing that they don't want, that they don't even believe we shouldn't do because there are no moral facts. That's the state of the world that we're in.
And Andrew is very magnanimous for not stuffing lowly communists like me in gulags and whatnot.
Were you always?
Yeah, I mean, from your view, how is that anything?
Yeah, no, she's like trying to like play it off as this like that's so silly, but like he's completely ground her into the dirt here.
But benevolent, why shouldn't I? As a moral anti-realist, why shouldn't I do that? What would make that immoral? Tell me, what would make it immoral as a moral anti-realist for me to stuff your in a gulag? What?
It's a more consequentialist outlook that I think that
they're really fucking censoring ass. Like, is that the point where we're at? Where ass is that's too much. That's like PG-13. It's like Jesus Christ.
Like watching the Kids Bop version of a fucking debate.
Yeah.
Based off the outcomes.
Wait. There's no moral facts, right?
No, they're not real facts. No. But,
so then there's nothing I'm really doing that's immoral, is there?
No.
No.
Again, that's highly no. I disagree with you. I'm saying
the gulag, is that immoral? No.
It's immoral, but not under the same framework. I'm not using the same the moral realist framework to say that it's wrong. It's wrong for other reasons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Do you believe in objective truth?
No.
No. Is that true?
subjective.
Okay, so you believe in...
He's just having fun with it now. Like, this isn't even necessarily linked to the art. He's just throwing them all at her.
Yeah, it's
You
pretty
don't
funny.
Believe in objective truth.
Are you
and
like
if I ask
are you like a math realist?
hang on, and I ask you if that's true, and you say no, that's not true either. So I can't believe anything you say, and you don't believe that there's any such thing as rights, but it's wrong for me to do something bad to you, even though there's no moral facts. Ingenious. This is your opposition, ladies and gentlemen. These are the communists who are taking over academia and teaching your kids.
Yeah, that was a great little summary there. Just like, completely destroyed the argument.
Yeah, no, I thought it was quite good. Thoroughly enjoyed it.
Okay, so let me Okay, so last thing on the docket is Richard Hanania.
Yes.
Yeah, it's basically Hanania throwing shade on Dave Smith and the red-headed libertarian, which is funny.
Yeah.
I didn't really comment on this at the time because like I'm not interested in like giving Hanania like any sort of support in terms of attacking libertarians. Like I just kind of left it alone. Let's check out his article because he's been a back and forth with Dave.
I do want to mention, I was going to say, I do want to mention to people as well is that Dave was coping about this article coming out. I would like, he was so mad in the replies to this article for a variety of reasons. And then the funniest part was, he got mad that Hanania was allegedly not properly engaging with his arguments. And then, moments later admitted to not actually reading the article.
Yeah.
Which I just thought was absolutely brilliant. So, no, look, I'm not, this is more of a criticism of Dave than it is of Hanania, but it's like, I'm not a huge fan of the fact that this is being, where the liberty movement as a whole is being dragged into this whole thing here, and these are our representatives, and these are the people who Hanania feels the need to critique. I'd much rather he'd be writing Substacks about what he saw from Liquid Zulu recently and criticizing that, and then we could respond to that. That would be far more positive for the liberty movement than what he's doing right now. But that's the reality that we're in at the moment, unfortunately.
Yeah. Because his view on the dichotomy, elite versus populist libertarianism, it's like the Cato types, old prags, versus the red-headed libertarian, which is like if that's our dichotomy, we've gone somewhere very wrong, which is exactly why I felt the need to make Anatomy of the Daisy's had wrong camera on for the whole time. That's why I made Anatomy of the Libertarian, is because like I was worried about this being the situation where we get to choose either between old prags or neo prags. That's a terrible thing, and you should expect stuff like this to happen when the representation is pragmatists.
Yeah, did you want to read through it, or how do you want to kind of? I'm trying to remember what we did with we did this with Adam Heyman's article when he criticized you.
Yeah, I think I basically I could read a section, and then if we have anything to discuss, then we could discuss it.
Yeah, for sure.
So Hanania says, I think that libertarianism is generally closer to the truth than any other political philosophy held by a substantial number of people. Indeed. It is also the case that libertarianism attracts a lot of individuals inclined towards grifting, conspiratorial thinking, bigotry, and authoritarianism. I'm going to do a video on the old grifting thing. For example, Angela McArdle, until recently the chairwoman of the Libertarian Party, is basically a right-wing culture warrior,
down to her full embrace of what ICE has been doing in Minneapolis, and rantings about the Epstein files. He may as well be quoting me.
Yeah, I'm going to say a pretty, like, again, from someone who's not obviously a libertarian, like, a fairly strong opening that I would mostly agree with. And it's really sad because, this second sentence, was something that I used to fight against, was this idea that, people like Hopper should be associated with authoritarianism because they criticize democracy. Like, I remember fighting with people who were, the old prags in particular, that, I used to have fights with them because they'd be like, Hopper's an authoritarian because, he believes in covenant communities and physical removal, and he's obviously anti-democracy. And yet we're now at a point where, it is accurate to say that a large portion of the popular people within the liberty movement, so to speak, can pretty much be identified by those four characteristics, which is quite a shame. I do also want to say that, I don't know, I'm just not a particularly conspiratorial person. And it's not because I don't think that there's, like, horrible things that all kind of states are doing. It's not that at all. It just, A, it doesn't really interest me, and B, I'd much rather focus on being able to attack the state even at its quote unquote best.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it's very easy for people to, like, criticize when the state is doing something like covering up for pedophiles. It's like, literally everyone can criticize, almost everyone can criticize that, other than some, pretty undesirable people, right? Can criticize the state when it's like, we're not going to prosecute pedophiles, or we're going to be pedophiles. The state officials are going to be. It's much more, and if we're going to if we focus too much on that side of things, it lends itself towards the position, well, okay, but what if we had good government, right? What if we had good states that didn't do these things, right? And so that's why I'd much rather, focus on, even if we grant the absolute best motivations and best possible case for the state, it is A, still unjustified, and B, would still lead to bad consequences with respect to the economy because of the misallocation of resources and whatnot. Like, that is the kind of strain of thinking that I want to focus on, is let's take the state at its absolute strongest and show why it's still unjustified, rather than giving all these carve-outs because it's like, well, it does these bad things, and then people can be like, okay, but what if it didn't do these bad things? Like, that's what that kind of focus tends to lend itself to, in my opinion.
Yeah. The Mises Caucus, a faction of the Libertarian Party, as far as I can tell, has over 150,000 followers on X. By the way, terrible branding. X. It often posts about Pizzagate and the deep state stealing elections. It's basically a non-stop fire hose of based signaling and MAGA nonsense. There's also a major influencer named the Red-Headed Libertarian, who spends more time showing cleavage and talking about the crimes of pedophile elites than the ways in which prices allow for an efficient... sorry, I just completely lost my mouth there. Who spends more time showing cleavage and talking about the crimes of pedophile elites than the ways in which prices allow for an efficient distribution of resources through the aggregation of information. I think it is a bit of a mistake from Hanania to be like, oh, she spends all this time talking about the crimes of pedophile elites, like, because it's like, that sounds like a very important thing to talk about.
Yeah. His argument's kind of hinging on the idea that that's not going on.
Yeah.
Like, in order for that to kind of land. And to be honest, that's where he kind of is on this whole issue. He seems to be of the Michael Tracy school of thought with regards to Epstein, that it's like mostly been overblown. Which we could, don't really want to get into a whole Epstein thing, but various thoughts on that, which is why, as much as Hanani is probably on the right track with this, we don't want to associate too closely with him because he has some interesting views on some of these matters. I'll say that much.
But the showing cleavage point, I feel like if he just changed up the example of talking about pedophile elites, he could have completely like stolen the frame here. And because you saw the red-headed libertarian basically has like highlighted this part. It's like, what the hell are you talking about, bro? It completely
exactly takes
the oomph out of him. Compare these figures with
Yeah.
libertarians at the Cato Institute or in the economics departments of places like the University of Chicago and George Mason University. We can divide libertarians into two categories, elites and populists. Compared to their populist counterparts, elite libertarians tend to be more socially liberal, less favorably disposed towards foreign dictatorships, non-conspiratorial in their thinking, and anti-woke when it is tied to statist projects, but less horrified by tolerance as a cultural phenomenon. Not all populist libertarians are influencers. One might put Hans Hermann Hoppe in this category for claiming to have put together a case for restrictive immigration policies based on libertarian principles. He's also written a book on how democracy has failed to protect individual rights. Ironically, populist libertarians are more likely to be explicit defenders of authoritarianism, even though their ideas have very little appeal among elites, while elite libertarians are more attached to democratic norms and processes. So, yeah, again, this is where it gets into, like, his categorization here is completely wrong-headed. The correct categorization is between the principled and the unprincipled, and there are two sorts of unprincipled. There's the old prags and the neo-prags for each side of the culture war. Right? He hasn't recognized this. He's just looking at the two types of pragmatists, and then he has to try and, like, swing Hoppe into the rightist side of the culture war for those pragmatists. Right? But it doesn't fit at all, because Hoppe is not a populist. Like, he really does believe in his argument for restrictive immigration. He believes that that is the principled take on the matter. And as it turns out, he's actually completely correct about democracy. Democracy is completely ludicrous. So,
there's a package deal going on where he conflates democracy with liberty. Like, and that's something that's obviously near universal amongst most people, but it's obviously incorrect on our view. So, yeah, not really fair to categorize Hoppe that way, because he's not really a populist. And I mean, he is correct about democracy and obviously, wrong on immigration, but not because he thinks it's, he's just doing some arbitrary thing in order to appease the popular sentiment. He's been making that argument for 30 years, regardless of, like, what the current state or what the current view of immigration was at any given moment.
He doesn't even talk about it that much. Like, it's one fucking article. Like, he barely goes into it. You're completely correct here, because he's like, oh, well, they're explicit defenders of authoritarianism. He's conflating this. He's conflating attacking democracy with being a defender of authoritarianism. Like, Hoppe has never been a defender of authoritarianism. He says explicitly in the book that he's an anarchist, that he's not defending monarchy. Like, he says that the first thing you fucking read in that book. It's him saying that he's not defending monarchy, he's attacking democracy. Most libertarian-leaning members of Congress, or those who talk about liberty in classical liberal terms, can also be considered populists. The Freedom Caucus, which on paper at least organizes around the idea of cutting spending and smaller government, puts its weight behind funding DHS and protecting ICE agents from scrutiny or legal accountability. And again, you can see that this problem, it comes from them attaching themselves to the culture wars, the pragmatism. I gave the correct analysis of this issue. Hanania is completely off base. It recently called on Trump to invoke the Insurrection Act if Democrat-run sanctuary cities continue enabling communist agitators assaulting ICE and federal law enforcement, which is, that's ludicrous coming from a fucking libertarian account, apparently. No matter what you think of this position, it's difficult to see how being on the side of the administration in its draconian vision of immigration enforcement and contempt for constitutional rights lines up with a strong commitment to limited government. If you believe these positions are consistent, let me also note that members of the Freedom Caucus were among the most enthusiastic members of Congress acting in support of Trump's 2020 coup attempt. No reasonable person can argue there's a consistent through line that in ideological terms unites small government, anti-immigration, and lying about a stolen election. Yeah, he worships democracy. It's stolen. Who cares? From my perspective, I see the Freedom Caucus being correct on some economic issues, taking views inconsistent with any individualist philosophy on immigration, and then on the 2020 election engaging in a naked authoritarian power grab.
And then he's got the Milton Friedman of our age, and it's
Yeah.
Josie trying to pretend to be like a trad wife.
Yeah. Not every member of the Freedom Caucus has gone along with Trump's authoritarianism and election denial, but those who didn't in years past became outcasts. One such example is Justin Amash, who was a founding member of the group, but then resigned in 2019 after saying Trump had committed impeachable offences. Given that he has no more role to play in Republican politics, this is a classic case of an exception proving the rule. The stolen election stuff is pretty much the purest instance of an integrity question one can find, since there are no ideological grounds on which to tell blatant lies about 2020 and try to overturn American democracy on that basis. Ugh, democracy's great. And on this moral test, politicians with libertarian-leaning views on economics failed worse than practically any other congressional faction. So, yeah, this I wanted to comment on this. This is Justin Mash like having to leave this group, which he founded. This is why it's important. If you found one of these sorts of groups, you got to be prepared and bake into the founding documents of that group something to prevent it being subverted, because otherwise it's gonna be subverted. And this is why I don't really have a lot of faith in Restore Britain, because there have been like many right-wing rug pull parties where they say like, oh no, we're going to be totally different, and then they just turn into the Tories again. Like, it happens every single time. And until I see something from Restore Britain where they're going over how exactly they plan to prevent that from happening, then I just don't trust that it's going to go anywhere good, because it'll just be the Tories again.
Mm-hmm.
These are two very different tribes. The libertarian economic... Oh, right, it is elite versus blah, 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 blah. These are two very different tribes, and it's an interesting question of how they can both identify with the same political label. What exactly does the Cato Institute or George Mason University have in common with the red-headed libertarian? To put it another way, how does a philosophy that prioritizes non-aggression and individual liberty above all else end up represented in politics and the media by collectivists and authoritarians? Well, I answer in The Anatomy of the Libertarian.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the explanation goes something like this. Very few people understand economics or the case for free market positions on most things. They only know that economic collectivism sounds good and capitalism sounds bad. Most psychologically normal human beings support the thing that sounds good over the thing that sounds bad, so they become anti-market. This describes most leftists and centrists. Yet some people are into vice signaling. We'll leave that for a bit. No. I mean, like, he's kind of in the same region as the answer. It's that they're pragmatists, right? And the pragmatism is taking over these people because, you know, it's supposed to, it does get you a lot of, you know, support in the short run, but you're burning down the actual base of your support. There's a whole underlying game at play which Hanania just doesn't see. So he isn't able to properly categorize these people, and he isn't able to identify that the Cato types are the same sort of poison, but of a different sort. So this kind of like ruins the article for me.
Yeah, it is like the original sin of the article is that his framing is populist versus elites, and he puts Cato and Josie on opposite ends of those two positions when really they're two sides of the same coin, the same pragmatist, non-libertarian coin.
Mm-hmm. Yet some people are into vice signaling. They want to convey that they do not suffer from pathological altruism, and are that's not vice, and are willing to do what it takes for the long-run future of their country. When they hear leftist propaganda about how capitalism allows a small, select group of elites to monopolize resources, keep marginalized groups in their place, and dominate the rest of society, they say, that sounds great, sign me up. If we're being charitable, we could say that such individuals are not vice signaling,
but instead signaling that they hold to a different set of virtues than most people. Indeed. It's Martin Prince. A vote for Bart is a vote for anarchy. But I think the key to this crowd is that they're inclined towards harder virtues that are in practice difficult to distinguish from vice, like willingness to inflict suffering for a cause. I mean, yeah, you're describing being a radical here. The intellectual who's into libertarian ideas understands the arguments of Hayek and Friedman, and perhaps looks at empirical data showing that the US has been growing faster than Europe over the last several decades, which can be in part attributed to freer markets. The Tennessee congressman who riles up his high school educated constituents by talking about how we need to hang some pedophiles gets to many of the same positions because he sees small government as a way to express disdain for poor minorities. Like, pedophiles?
What the fuck? Yeah, I was going to say, that's a weird...
He really wants to get across this Epstein position.
Really, speaking of vice signaling...
Jesus. It was the marginalized pedophile. A shame. I believe that the free market position on, but yeah, no, this like whole like, oh, maybe they look at the empirical data. Like, he loves the fucking old prag because they were, you know, they were friendly and they were easy and predictable. Like, I mean, if Hanania thinks that the neo-prags are like the true radicals here, like, oh boy, he's got another thing coming. Like, he has not seen true radical libertarianism yet. And guess what? It's going to be a lot more effective than, oh, well, if you look at the, you see there's this thing called a Laffer curve, and shut up. I believe that the free market position on most economic questions is the correct one. So people who are intelligent, have good epistemological standards, and care about truth, a very small minority, will support capitalism for intellectually defensible reasons. Yet there are a lot more vice signalers, or hard virtue signalers, out there than good faith rationalists. We all know my opinion on rationalism. Thus, a large portion of any libertarian movement, unless it does a lot of gatekeeping, will be overrun by conspiracy theorists and misanthropes. And when libertarianism builds a mass following, whether reflected in the success of major influencers or elected politicians, it will be within a vice signaling framework. Yeah, no.
I just don't think it ever will gain a mass following. There's people like Dave and Angela, and that will just be, and already are being, just subsumed into the broader right-wing movement. So a distinctly libertarian movement would not look like this because it just wouldn't emerge as libertarian.
Yeah, because he hasn't understood like the thesis of this libertarian video. Obviously, I can't imagine he's watched it. He completely misdiagnoses what's going on here. Like, what it would look like for what he calls the vice signalers to be very popular is that they keep abandoning libertarianism more and more and more. They become the Gail Winans, but that's not libertarianism being popular. And like, he just doesn't understand the whole thing around the philosophical theory of history. What does it look like for libertarianism to take over? Well, it looks like the radical libertarians, the real radical libertarians, moving the needle in terms of what the philosophy of the day is. It's not changing your philosophy in order to appeal to the masses. It's the masses are going to follow you, whether they like it or not, because they don't think.
Yeah, it seems like he associates the term libertarianism more so with the people who identify with the label rather than an actual consistent set of beliefs. And so that's where he's kind of going astray, I think, because he's, associating with it. Like, well, you know, if a movement led by Dave Smith and Josie was to gain popularity, then, you know, that would be a libertarian movement. It's like, well, you know, not necessarily, because libertarianism isn't what Dave Smith says. Despite what Dave Smith might tell you, that's not what it is. Fortunately, right?
Yeah. If you're a vice signaler, libertarianism is far from the most natural ideology for you to adopt. Most people across history have gone for straight authoritarianism, rather than an ideology that is accused by its critics of being authoritarian, but in practice grants a great deal of individual liberty. In the American context, vice signalers have flocked to libertarianism because historically elites in effect took a more fascist adjacent ideologies off the table. Sorry, I'm terrible at reading that sentence. With the democratization of the discourse, those with I don't like this like style of writing an article where it's like every fucking thing is like, oh, underline, that's a link for you to click on. Like the democratization.
Yeah. Click on another thing that I made.
Yeah. Like, just give me footnotes. Just give me footnote. I can read your fucking footnote if I want to. With the democratization of the discourse, those with a taste for authoritarianism can go for the real thing instead of the classical liberal substitute. When Andrew Colvett of Turning Point USA was on Ross Dutart's podcast recently, the number one position he advocated for was an immigration moratorium. When Duthat asked him what else he wanted, Colvett what the fuck are these names? Colvett started talking about housing. He said we needed to build more housing and also brought up large corporate investors buying residences. I was fascinated that he went straight for a status solution to the cost issue rather than a free market one, especially given that even some on the left have come to acknowledge the primary role that land use restrictions play in making housing unaffordable. This demonstrates, I think, just how naturally disinclined modern rightists are towards any policy program that relies on increasing liberty, unless it is coded in culture war terms, meaning that it helps someone considered to be part of their tribe, like gun owners or fundamentalist Christians. Yeah, he's almost hitting on the arrow of regression theory by Pavkovich. That, like, you know, they're going in for this the government solution to the government problem, and how that you know, obviously Pavkovich, he completes it that it regresses into total socialism. Does Zulu have dyslexia or something? No, I do have a slight speech impediment though. It's a fun time to record videos, let me tell you.
Predominantly queers.
Yeah. Elite and populist libertarianism have fundamentally different projects. Elite libertarians understand that the masses are against them and seek to build a coalition of the highly educated in order to implement a minoritarian agenda that will make society better. Pardon me. Populist libertarianism believes that the people are on their side, or at least can be tricked into joining them, and want to mobilize the masses against elites. In some way, oh, he's doing an interesting like conflation here. Like political elites and elite libertarianism. He's almost got it. Indeed, like the Cato types, the old prags, they were, you know, for the political elites of old. They were for all that. But like, that's just one side of the culture war. These are two sides of the culture war here. We need to get away from that. There's a third option here, Hanania. In some ways, they're right, since xenophobia and conspiracy theories are much more popular among the public than they are in elite circles. To be fair, populist libertarians are not complete statists, and will take their ideology seriously to a certain extent. The Freedom Caucus, after all, remains in favour of lower taxes and less top-line spending. But when libertarian ideology conflicts with right-wing culture war preferences, see topics like immigration and support for Trump, they play the role of enthusiastic soldiers in a coalition dominated by right-wing values and tribal loyalty. Indeed. Ultimately, elite libertarians are driven by ideas, while populist libertarianism is a strategy for gaining a large audience and a mode of emotional catharsis for those angry at the world.
I definitely agree with the idea that, at least subconsciously, the shift has been towards, okay, what's going to bring me a large audience?
Yeah.
And that was kicked off by, in the case of Dave, it's kicked off by COVID, because he was obviously, well, he was good on COVID, but there was a popular, he was channeling a popular sentiment amongst the movement that was broader than just libertarianism. And so that brought in a whole bunch of people who aren't libertarians who became supporters of him because of his positions on those issues. And then the next issue that kind of cropped up was Israel-Palestine. And so over time, he's developed less and less and less of a libertarian core audience and has had to continue to pander to the right-wing audience in order to maintain that level of popularity and audience that he's kind of gained over the past 5 years or so.
Yeah, it's a cargo cult mentality. He wants to just keep trying to recreate the COVID wave, but like he didn't do the learning, which was necessary. He was smart enough to know the correct position on COVID. That great, but he thought that then that meant he could just keep doing that over and over again. But like, it's led him down a very destructive path, destructive for the movement. Sick Vox is saying that Hanania is an apologist for child-adult relations. I'm surprised this isn't more well known he's evil. Well, that's definitely not a good thing if that's the case. You know,
yeah, I mean,
you do see this.
He makes some interesting allusions to some of that stuff in the article. I don't know what's specific.
What was it? It was like it allows him to attack poor minorities, and he's like immediately goes into like.
It was like earlier in the sentence, he was referring to pedophiles. Yeah.
It talks about how we need to hang some pedophiles. He sees small government as a way to express disdain for poor It makes it sound like he's calling the pedophiles the poor minorities.
Yeah.
Very.
And one of his big criticisms of Josie being that she calls out the pedophile elites. It's like, well, to be honest, on my list of criticisms of Josie, that would be very, very low, I have to say, as far as the things that she does wrong.
Probably would not have that as like top billing criticism of the redheaded libertarian.
No. Yeah, might be one of the few things in the pro column as far as like the pros and cons of the redheaded libertarian.
Yeah, get these off the screen. Most populist libertarians are not thoughtful enough to make good arguments on this. But there are ways to defend their ideology and approach politics on pragmatic terms. Ugh. Most of the public does not care for free markets or individual liberty. So the only way for libertarians to have any voice in politics is to act as an appendage to one side of the culture war. Oh my god, he's almost got it. Conservatives may dislike markets as much as liberals, but it is the left where you find true committed anti-market ideologues. Therefore, dabbling in Epstein conspiracy theories and anti-immigrant scapegoating is the only practical way to defeat the left, which is what matters. As evidence, look at how much better conservative-run states have been doing over the last several decades. Republican messaging has been aimed at the chuds in the middle of the country. Pardon me. But because libertarians are part of the coalition, this has meant that where conservatives have power, we see greater growth and more individual liberty. I think that this argument worked until 2025 at the latest. In a previous generation, conservative elites would use culture war issues as a mobilization strategy, but end up governing in a reasonable pro-market direction. Trump succeeded as a political entrepreneur in part by realizing that the Republican voter cared little for the issues that have traditionally animated conservative intellectuals. Parallel with Trump's political dominance of the party has been the rise of the post-liberal intellectual movement, which advocates more statist positions on issues like trade, immigration, and labor unions. Running on chuddery, but governing in a generally pro-market direction, was a balance that the Republican Party was able to pull off throughout approximately the period from the rise of Ronald Reagan to the beginning of Trump's second term. It's like he's almost got it. He's almost figured out what the cause of this is. That it's due to the pragmatism. But he's not quite there. He just doesn't have the knowledge necessary, I guess, to fully connect this up.
Well, and he probably is pro-pragmatist, or seems to definitely be pro-pragmatist. So he's never going to pin the issues with what's going on at the foot of pragmatism. because he'd be shooting his own kind of worldview in the foot there.
Yeah. The populist takeover of the Republican Party has broken that alliance, and the second Trump administration now has little to offer libertarians and classical liberals. Vance, who pals around with post-liberals and takes their ideas seriously, offers even less, and, if he becomes president, will likely complete American conservatism's turn away from individual liberty as a guiding principle. Populism as a mobilization strategy for libertarian policies worked until technological changes disrupted the equilibrium that kept a lid on authoritarianism, racism, and conspiracy theories, and allowed for there to be a large gap between the instincts of the mobilized faction of the right-wing discourse and what Republicans actually did while in office. I think at this point there is no turning back to the old bargain. Libertarians were probably smart to be part of the conservative coalition for the last 3 generations. They got a lot out of it, and can be proud that they have kept the US economically freer and therefore richer than the rest of the developed world. Yet to have lasting success and roll back the rise in state power, rather than simply check growth, libertarians will have to win over the intellectual elites and those who care about ideas. For better or worse, those people are now almost exclusively found on the left. It's the question, how do you win over those intellectual elites? You don't do it through pragmatism. That's just another part of the culture war. He doesn't get this. He doesn't conceive of this.
Yeah. Look, I thought it was worth covering that because he had some interesting, or I suppose some similar criticisms, I should say, of Dave and Josie primarily. But ultimately, I think it just demonstrates why you need to be like really knowledgeable of what is going on in these movements before you start trying to draw conclusions about what exactly is going on in the way that Hanania tries to do, because it's clear that he's taking a very bird's eye kind of look at everything and seeing, well, Dave and like the Mises caucus are, fighting or disagree with the Cato Institute, so they must be like at opposing ends of the spectrum. It's like, well, not really. Like one supplanted the other, and they both hold like similar fundamentals as far as their philosophical backing, even if they have very different prescriptions as far as policy might be concerned.
Yeah, I mean, like, I suppose it is interesting to see what the outside perspective is. He's obviously on a certain side of the culture war, and he liked the old elites, but they're not the true elite of libertarianism. I wonder what he would think of us when we take over.
Will be interesting to see. Well, we'll look forward to that Hanania Substack when it comes out.
Yeah.
The problem with the Zuluite libertarians, I guess we'll wait and see.
Pardon me. Anyway, so that's all we had on the docket. Thank you very much for coming on. I know it's very late for you, Monhop.
3 o'clock in the morning, it just ticked over to.
Jesus, all right.
So I'm going to go to bed.
Yep, see ya.
All right.
I believe I got another donation there. When you're down for Richard Hanania, check Discord. Down for it to be read on stream. That's for $30. Thank you very much. I'm applying for a computer engineer degree, 3 years bachelor. I'm wondering if it's selfish for me to take a stipend. I'm already taking welfare, so I guess my question is about whether I should just quit all welfare, quit all stipends, and all state subsidies. A bit conflicted on this. Most of the taxpayers I talk to love being stolen from. So, like, should I take it? I want your honest answer. It depends on how much, you're getting taxed. Can't really, I don't think you should be, sustaining yourself purely on welfare, but if you're being taxed a certain amount, then it's fair. That's a very, difficult thing to disentangle. It would be very dependent on your specific situation.
But anyway, thank you very much for the money. Thank you everybody who came along, especially those who donated. And I'll see you next time. The next time I won't fucking sleep.